Hey guys, tonight we're slipping into weathered boots and chicken dust, walking a Norfolk yard as sunset stains the horizon peach. Forget survival podcasts. This is your brain unraveling stress to the beat of clucking beaks. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Drop a comment with your location. This vlog's got fans from Tokyo suburbs to Marrakesh rooftops. Now dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum. And let's ease into tonight's journey together. Your soul's crunch gravel, a remembered path worn smooth by decades of evening rounds. The coop rises ahead, its cedar boards warped into permanent frowns by English rain. You lift the latch, a metallic cough that startles starlings from the eaves. Hinges scream pitched like medieval portcullises. Historians still argue whether 14th century chicken coops doubled as peasant fallout shelters. Let's not test that theory. Twilight filters through cracks, dust motes suspended like molten gold in honey. 14 feathers puff out as hens shift on perches, their sleep interrupted by your silhouette. A buff Orpington grumbles something about working hours. Chickens mastered labor unions long before 19th century factories. Turns out early to bed started as poultry protest. You count beak by shadowy beak, a nightly census against foxes and foolishness. Your elbow brushes cobwebs strung between rafters, their architects long devoured by the flock. The air hums, warmth rising from straw marinated in decades of pecked corn and ammonia. Back in 1893, a Vermont farmer claimed his hens laid emerald eggs after eating crushed kale. You scan the nesting boxes, just the usual cream and brown. Pebbled talons click drop to dirt as the flock descends. Oldest hens first, stiff-legged as pensioners leaving a bus. One pauses to preen, a speckled Wyandotte polishing breast feathers like Victorian silverware. Researchers once recorded hens making over 30 distinct vocalizations, including a special cluck reserved exclusively for mocking humans. You swear that one just giggled. Cold brass hinges bite your palm as you prop the door wide, inviting the flock into their courtyard kingdom. A breeze riffles neck hackles, feather patterns recalling Byzantine mosaics. Archaeologists found chicken bones in a Pompeii brothel's courtyard, proof even ancient Romans needed breakfast companions. You shovel grain into a dented pail, the scrape of metal on metal, sending the bantams into a waltz. A Rhode Island red cranes her neck, combed crest glowing like cathedral glass in dying light. You toss the first handful, pebbled kernels arcing through air amber thick with pollen. Beaks strike dirt, a staccato rhythm older than Canterbury Cathedral down the road. 16th century naturalists believed hens could sniff out truffles. Turns out they just liked kicking leaf mold. Your boot nudges a damp rock, woodless scatter like a dropped necklace. The roosting bar creaks overhead, relieved of its feathered cargo. Some whisper old coops develop souls from centuries of clucking. Tonight, the rafters hum with phantom wings. You check the water trough, mirror surface, reflecting Venus blinking awake. A single feather spirals down nature's receipt for another dusk transaction. Moonlight pales the eastern fence. Starlings trade shift with the first bats. Your shadow merges with the coop's silhouette, blurring lines between keeper and kept. Historians still argue whether Phoenician traders or Roman legionnaires first brought chickens to Britain. The hens don't care, they're too busy staging a coup over the last millet seed. You lean into splintered wood, breath sinking, with contented gurgles from the dust bath pit. Calloused fingertips find the latch chain, its cold bite pulling you earthward. England's last wolf died 7 miles from here, but tonight's only predators are midges and nostalgia. The final hen tucks her head, a feathered semicolon ending the day's last sentence. You kneel in the damp grass, blades cool against your palms, as the speckled hen drags her wing through the dew. Her footprints gleam miniature mirrors, reflecting the peach-colored sky. 17 steps she takes, each claw pressing crescent moons into the earth. You wonder if medieval peasants counted steps too, their chickens clucking through castle baileys, while crusaders marched east. The hen pauses, her eye a polished walnut fixed on your knee. You mimic her stillness, the way Byzantine emperors supposedly meditated with peacocks in palace gardens. Mud seeps through your jeans, a earthy perfume mixing with crushed clover. Researchers claim chickens recognize over 100 human faces, though you're fairly sure this one just sees a grain dispenser with legs. She resumes her patrol, breast feathers skimming jewelweed leaves. You spot an earthworm breaching the soil pink and glistening like a newborn's finger. The hen doesn't notice, too busy deciphering beetle tracks in the mud. Historians still debate whether ancient Nubians first domesticated fowl for fighting or fortune-telling. But right now, your oracle just poops on your boot. Dew soaks your sock cuff as you shift weight. Some Victorian naturalists swore chickens could predict earthquakes, said their squawking preceded the 1886 Charleston tremor. You half listen for alarm calls, hearing only distant combines growling across barley fields. The hen stops mid-stride, one foot frozen like a pointer dog. You follow her gaze to a spider's web spanning 2 fence posts strung with water droplets. She clucks approval, or perhaps disdain for the architect's work. Your breath fogs the air, October's first chill threading through the valley. That escaped Nazi hen from Churchill's bunker comes to mind, the one that laid eggs through the Blitz. A tractor backfires 3 farms over. The hen launches skyward, wings beating air, thickened with the smell of wet limestone. She lands in a flurry, scattering dandelion fluff. You recall that cursed Roman scroll, the one listing chicken entrails as migraine remedies. For a heartbeat, you consider it. Twilight deepens, the grass now indigo underfoot, milky wave edge flowers glow faintly, their bioluminescence visible only at this hour. The hen pecks at your shoelace, demanding tribute. You surrender a barley kernel from your pocket payment for tonight's therapy session. Cricket song rises as shadow swallows the yard. Somewhere north, a vixen screams. The hen tucks her head under a wing, ignoring your existence with imperial finality. You stay crouched, wondering if Elizabeth I's prized flock really wore silk collars, or if that's just Tudor propaganda. Your knees protest as you rise, the hen's muffled cluck following you toward the gate. Dew has silvered the path, each step leaving temporary voids in the grass. You pause, fingertips brushing a feather caught on the fence. It's still warm, a forgotten comma in tonight's story. Your palm hesitates above the fence post, the feather's warmth clinging to your skin like a stolen secret. You uncurl your fingers, barley grains cascading onto cracked soil. 17 beaks strike earth, miniature jackhammers, echoing the rhythm of Winchester's medieval grain mills. A bantam hen side-eyes the frenzy, her comb tilted like Marie Antoinette's court hat. Dust rises in golden clouds. UT, a ST, E Chinese letter harvests in each particle. They say Tudor bakers used chicken feathers to glaze bread, though you doubt these crumbs will become anything but manure by dawn. The speckled pullet from earlier waddles over a single kernel balanced on her beak like a circus seal's ball. You blink, she swallows, audience participation complete. Funny how chickens perfected punting food before the Normans invaded England. If poultry had kept historical records, we'd all be speaking cluckish. Dusk wind carries the scent of sourdough starter from your kitchen window. Hens pivot their heads, snapping toward the aroma with the precision of Luftwaffe radar operators. The boss hen squawks, a noise halfway between a car alarm and a disgruntled opera singer. You crouch, fingernails tracing a chicken footprint, fossilized in mud. Historians still argue whether Renaissance merchants traded spices or pullets as currency. But right now, your currency's disappearing faster than Hitler's pet cockerel during the Nuremberg trials. A feather drifts into the feed pile, contamination notices be damned. You pluck it, twirling the quill like Churchill's unlit cigar. That time, Welsh miners taught roosters to detect gas, leaks surfaces in your mind. Avian canaries for the feathery set. The bantam lunges her peck, landing on your thumbnail instead of grain. You jerk back, knuckles brushing nettles as payment for distraction. She cocks her head, a mercenary considering whether to demand overtime pay. Some Victorian naturalist swore blind hens made better mothers. Darwin himself debunked it. But try telling that to Colonel Sanders. Shadows stretch the flock into prehistoric silhouettes. Jurassic Park extras awaiting their close-up. Your empty hand hangs limp, a failed treaty offer. The hens retreat, their crop pouches bulging like overstuffed change purses. You picture Tudor street vendors hawking lucky Henrician eggs, probably just dysentery in a shell. Moonlight gilds the fence wire, transforming it into a medieval scribe's inked line. The bantam lingers, 1 foot raised like a Parisian courtesan, awaiting a kiss. You exhale barley dust and irony swirling through the beam of your headlamp. Cicadas throttle their engines in the blackberry thicket, a motorcycle gang revving for night patrol. The hen blinks, slow, deliberate, as if counting your sins through reversed binoculars. You surrender the last grain, a peace offering to the feathered guild. Cold seeps through your jeans, knees imprinting chrysanthemum patterns in the dirt. That Dutch tulip craze had nothing on chicken mania. 1,637 speculators would have traded entire estates for a golden-laced Wyandotte. The bantam pecks your shoelace, unimpressed by human economic follies. Your palm lies empty now, a barren landscape under the hen's laser scrutiny. She tilts her head, the exact angle of your Aunt Mildred, inspecting suspicious taco dip at family reunions. Wind riffles feathers, a whisper of try harder, next time in avian passive-aggressive. Overhead, the Big Dipper hangs askew, one handle star missing like a dropped grain in cosmic poultry yard. You rise, joints popping a protest march. The bantam retreats her figure, dissolving into shadow, leaving only the memory of judgment in the cooling air. Gravel crunches underfoot as you turn toward the house. Behind you, 16 hens murmur over the spoils, and one small silhouette remains, waiting for an encore that won't come tonight. Your shadow stretches toward the water trough, melding with the boss hen's silhouette. She stands rigid atop the rim, a feathered Agamemnon surveying his Mycenaean troops. You freeze mid-step, pretending wind-blown hair isn't sabotaging your attempt at avian camouflage. 16 hens peck obliviously, their tail feathers fluttering like Venetian carnival flags. The boss's amber eyes track a jay's flight path, same vigilance Roman sentries used scanning Hadrian's wall for Picts. Legend claims Caligula drafted chickens as military advisors, likely nonsense. But this hen's strategic glare almost sells it. Dew soaks through your sock where the fence breached silent diplomacy earlier. The hen shifts, one talon curling against galvanized metal. Ancient Babylonian watchtowers perched clay hens on their parapets, omens against evil spirits. You wonder if rust stains under her claws count as modern hieroglyphs. A maple leaf spirals down, landing between you like a dropped treaty. Historians still argue whether Carthaginian scouts preferred geese or chickens for detecting midnight ambushes. Neither species files after-action reports. So we're stuck with educated guesses and speculative poultry documentaries. Your knees lock, muscles protesting the prolonged stillness. The hens comb ripples, blood-red pennant signaling something. Tudor horologists swore roosters crowed precisely 43 minutes past dawn, though urban hens likely napped through such deadlines. This specimen's internal clock clearly runs on military time. Distant combine harvesters growl their rhythms, syncopating with the flock's pecking metronome. The boss tilts her head, analyzing your breathing patterns for weaknesses. Archaeologists found 11th century chicken bones buried with Norse settlers. Proof even Vikings needed breakfast protein between pillages. Mist rises from the trough, liquid mirror, warping the hen's reflection into a surat painting. You blink away water's sting, vision doubling. 17th century Dutch traders bred chickens to match Baroque still lifes, prioritizing aesthetics over practicality, a move your pragmatic matriarch would have vetoed. Somewhere nearby, a walnut plops into mud. The hen's pupils dilate, processing threats with the focus of a Cold War radar operator. 19th century farmers tied red ribbons on prized layers during fox epidemics. Avian VIPs in a feathery protection program. Your elbow cracks, a betrayal louder than Versailles cannons. 16 heads snap upward, 64 eyes accusing you of high treason. The boss emits a noise resembling a dentist's drill, meeting a kazoo, the chicken equivalent of stand down men. Breath finally steadies, lungs sinking with oak leaves clattering above. You count 9 heartbeats before realizing it's acorns hitting root-knuckled soil. Medieval monks believed hens stopped laying during eclipses, though yours seem more concerned with your questionable perch etiquette. The hen flexes her wings, stretching corded evolution across a 3-foot wingspan. Her right wingtip bears a bald patch, Napoleonic war wound from last summer's raccoon skirmish. A 1920s Poultry Weekly article claimed injured hens laid eggs with medicinal properties. Quack science that aged like raw Thanksgiving turkey. Your thumb traces a splintered groove in the trough, rough as a Gloucestershire plow blade. The hen mirrors your motion, claw scritching, rust flecks in concentric circles. Children's rhymes claim such marks predict winter severity, rural meteorology scribed in Ferris hieroglyphs. Dusk bleeds indigo across the hen's irises. Daylight's last stand refracting in avian corneas. You shift weight, rotten board creaking underfoot. 17th century Londoners bet on cockfights at the Royal Exchange. High finance meets bloodsport. This hen's stare suggests she'd have bankrupted them all. The first firefly glows, a greenish stutter, briefly confusing the flock. Boss hen pirouettes, comb slicing the gloaming like a Venetian galleon's prow. Her talons leave crescent moons in the water, ephemeral as Catherine de Medici's bathhouse mosaics. Elm bark rubs your spine, an accidental back massage from Mother Nature's chiropractor. Someone should have told Versailles architects that chicken coops offer better acoustics with less guilt upkeep. The hen's throat vibrates, subsonic purr, dislodging a moth from her breast feathers. Moonlight pools around the trough, liquid mercury in a rusted chalice. You allow one eyelid to close, Cyclops diplomacy. 17 hens blur into a feathery lava lamp show. The boss remains crystalline, her silhouette sharp enough to slice through 8 centuries of agricultural history. Wind gusts carrying fermented silage and diesel fumes from Route 12. The hen's neck feathers ruffle like a Dickensian clerk's cravat in a tavern brawl. Her right toe taps the trough's edge, executive impatience transcending species. 3 slow breaths, 4. Her head dips, armistice granted. Gravel grumbles under your heel as retreat begins. The trough creaks, tinny echo of Excalibur being relinquished. You walk backward, foolish mortal, refusing to fully turn away. 47 paces to the toolshed. 63 to the farmhouse. The boss watches all feathered Argus with a single unblinking eye. Your spine prickles like a Regency debutante facing the marriage mart. Soft targets shouldn't linger under raptor regard. The coop door winds its hinge flap, obscuring the final stare-off. You exhale into cupped hands, fogging air with relief's ragged edges. 17 contented clucks rise through floorboard cracks. A sleepy ovation for tonight's main event. Moonlight lacquers the coop's tin roof, dimpling the metal like a creme brulee crust. You're 3 steps from the gate when movement explodes at your ankles. Down flurries, a cream-colored pullet rockets between your boots. Her sprint defies physics, quail-sized body achieving jackrabbit velocity. Ancient Egyptian, nobles kept sprinting chickens as living alarm systems, though this escape artists' ancestors clearly skipped obedience training. Gravel sprays as you pivot too fast. 1 boot skids through damp nettles. The pullet zigzags toward the compost heap, a feathered Looney Tunes character high on stolen grit. Word is 19th century French farmers believed runaway hens carried messages for Napoleon's exiled ghost. You'd gladly let her deliver tonight's memo if she weren't beelining toward the broken fence. Should have named you Houdini, you mutter, lunging sideways. Wool sleeves snag brambles, nature's way of mocking your urban reflexes. The pullet skids under the wheelbarrow, flipping a beetle mid-dodge. Some backyard historians claim medieval knights used hens as sentry alarms. Those idiots clearly never tried catching a 3-ounce delinquent in pitch dark. Tailless muscles burn, kneeling's your only play. Cold seeps through denim as you army crawl beneath the barrow's rusted undercarriage. The pullet stares back, black eyes glittering with outlaw pride. Habsburg emperors once dyed prize chickens blue to match their tapestries. You'd pay good money for a neon escapee right now. Anything besides camouflage feathers in leaf litter. 1 slow exhale, fingers spread like an Appalachian bear trap. The pullet chooses this moment to rediscover flight. Her hop clears your palm, wings battering your eyebrows. She lands in a rhubarb thicket, Victorian petticoats rustling where leaves shouldn't. A 1930s poultry catalog suggested hens hate the scent of peppermint. You make a mental note to order 20 pounds. Muscle memory takes over. You flop sideways, the pullets pinned between your ribcage and a mossy stone. Her cheeps sound suspiciously like laughter. Historians still argue whether 12th century monks used hens to guard monastery wine cellars. Spoiler, they didn't, but your girl's clearly trained in psychological warfare. Warmth floods your palms as you lift her down softer than a Habsburg heir's christening blanket. Heartbeats thrum through her breastbone metronome set to allegro. Moonlight reveals her secret. One leg's missing the protective spur. Tudor farmers believed such hens brought luck. You're just glad she can't weaponize that nub. Oak branches clatter approval overhead. The pullet pecks your thumbnail, gentle reprimand for interrupting her jailbreak. Her crop bulges, proof of earlier tomato theft. Renaissance portraitists always painted hens demurely. They missed the genre's true stars, these tiny anarchists of the barnyard. 3 slow steps toward the coop each met with indignant squirming. You hum a Dylan chorus, folk music as poultry pacifier. The pullet cocks her head, critical of your pitch, but starved for pop culture references. Her claws need your sleeve, needle pricks through worn wool. Dew soaks your ankles as you reach the run. The boss hen glares from her roost, warden unimpressed by your jailer skills. You deposit the escapee beside the feed bin. She preens smug as a Gilded Age robber baron after a tax loophole victory. Night air bites your collarbones. Somewhere beyond the pastures, a truck downshifts on Route 12. The pullet's already nestling into hay innocent as a Botticelli cherub. You swipe straw from your hair. 17th century alchemists swore chicken feathers could reveal hidden gold veins. All you've mined tonight's a sock full of burrs and fading adrenaline. The latch clicks, final as a bank vault. Through warped wood slats, you spy the pullet's silhouette wiggling into the flock. Medieval bestiaries claimed hens sleep with one eye open to repel demons. You make the same vow tomorrow's reinforcements include bungee cords and a poultry therapist. Gravel crunches underfoot as you retreat. Stars blink through thinning clouds, celestial witnesses to tonight's feathery fiasco. Your shadow stretches toward the farmhouse, stolen chicken luck clinging to its edges. Your shadow unspools across the yard, stretching thin before the lanterns bloom. Kerosene light floods the run, turning marigold combs into stained glass held up to God. Renaissance butchers hung chicken heads above doorways to ward off plague. You're just glad yours remain attached, razor-wattled guardians against more mundane evils. The Orpington lifts her chin. The lantern turns her comb translucent. Veins branch beneath the red membrane, a coral reef preserved in amber. Historians still argue whether Victorian poultry shows bred combs for beauty or temperature regulation. Neither camp mentions how they glow like church windows when backlit. You crouch. The boss hen's comb throws a crimson shadow over your boot. It smells faintly of iron here, earthy tang of warm wattles mingling with kerosene fumes. 18th century tanners used chicken combs to make glue for bookbindings. Your girl's headgear stays put tonight, No pages need mending. A gust swings the lantern. Light slicks across feathers. Wyandottes become gilded. Silkies morph into molten silver. One bantam twists her neck, eyeing the bulb like a UFO descending. Medieval almanacs claimed hens could predict thunderstorms by comb color changes. Yours just look pissed about the spotlight. Dew condenses on your elbow. The kerosene hums, a mechanical cicada trapped in glass. You trace a finger over the Sussexes, comb ridged as a mountain range in miniature. Cold seeps through your touch. Tudor housewives wore dried combs as love charms, crushed them into suitor's wine when affection soured. Shadows pool beneath the roost, ink blots swallowing stray feathers. The light catches something you've never noticed. Each comb's edge glistens with sweat. Ancient Indus Valley traders packed chickens in ice to study their heat regulation. You file this under facts that explained my summer electric bill. Moths batter the lantern's chimney. Their frenzy makes the flock twitch. A speckled hen pecks at her own shadow. Napoleon complex in full swing. 1920s researchers claimed wattles acted as radiators, diverting blood flow during squabbles. You've seen enough tonight to suggest they're just drama enablers. The Marin's comb drips condensation, a ruby teardrop falling slow as sap. You catch it on your knuckle, warmth evaporates before reaching your wrist. Some Balkan folk songs compare chicken combs to dying embers. The metaphor lands now, flickering grandeur minutes from ash. Distant headlights stripe the fence. Lantern light gutters, combs dim from cathedral glass to dried blood. Cold nips your collarbones. Pre-Columbian tribes buried chiefs with roosters, eternal sentinels against grave robbers. Your girls would trade eternity for an extra handful of mealworms. One hen sneezes, the sound echoes off the tin roof. Others join, a chain reaction of nasal protests. A 1950s veterinary manual blamed comb shape for respiratory issues. You make a note to Google that later, along with chicken sneeze CPR. The lantern's wick sputters, dying breaths measured in uneven flares. Combs flatten as hens tuck heads under wings, crimson crowns folding into feathery nightcaps. You click the latch. Shadows reclaim the yard, your retreat lit only by Venus and habit. Your boots find the feed bin by memory, toes bumping its rust-speckled belly. The scoop handle fits your palm like a worn-down pencil. Grain cascades into the pail, a metallic rain echoing off tin siding. Hens materialize from shadows, feathers fluffed against the cooling air. Their clucks sharpen, dagger-pointed demands, softened by the promise of cracked corn. Archaeologists found Babylonian chicken feed recipes etched on clay tablets, barley mixed with crushed limestone for digestion. You wonder if ancient hens judged their owners' cooking skills too. The first handful arcs through dusk, hitting dirt with a percussion that summons every beak. The flock becomes a single organism, rippling toward the scattering grains. A buff Orpington's crop bulges like a Roman coin purse. She's eaten since noon, you've counted, yet acts starved enough to audition for a Dickens novel. Starlings perfected this scam first. Mediocrity loves a remake. Beaks piston the soil, tiny jackhammers seeking gold. The sound shifts mid-peck, clucks melting into gravelly purrs. It's the chicken equivalent of a dinner gong, a rumble felt in your molars. Your grandmother called it the contentment chorus, swore it cured her migraines better than aspirin. 19th century farmers believed hens sang these notes to thank the moon. Science says it's just esophageal muscle contractions. Let the eggheads keep their fun facts. You prefer the lie. Corn dust rises, a spice cloud clinging to your sleeves. One speckled hen grinds her beak side to side, a connoisseur savoring vintage Bordeaux. Her wattles sway, metronomes keeping time with each chew. You crouch close enough to count the flea dirt peppering her vent feathers. A 1970s study claimed chickens have regional dialects, debating whether Sussex hens cluck with posher accents. None of yours sound like the BBC, more like smokers at a bus station. The Marins abandon manners, jumping to peck kernels midair. Their wing slaps stir up feathers, a down blizzard with better rhythm. You toss a handful high, watching them leap like bloated ballerinas. The boss hen watches from her trough perch, too regal to beg. Roman Colosseum vendors sold fried chicken wings to spectators, greasy fingers staining marble seats. You offer her a palmful tribute to her inner gladiator. She accepts it as her due. Purrs deepen vibrations harmonizing with crickets in the hedge. The flock's eyelids droop, black sergeant stripes narrowing to slits. Their digestion syncs with yours. Stomach growls, answering grains journey through gizzards. Historians still argue whether chicken domestication began for eggs, meat, or sacrificial rituals. You vote for the first person who figured out they eat garden pests. Real MVP of agricultural innovation. A bantam hen naps, standing her comb flopping over one eye like a drunk's hat. You resist adjusting it. Sleep twitches ripple through the flock, a wave crashing against your knees. The air smells of warm bread, now yeasty ferment from 30 cropfuls of fermenting grain. Tudor bakers kept hens in dough rooms to control weevils, early pest control with bonus omelets. Your shadow stretches across the scattered feed, elongated fingers brushing the coop door. The birds ignore it, experts at separating phantom from finger. One pecks your thumbnail, testing its hardness against corn. Light fails by degrees, color draining from combs until they're just silhouettes. Medieval monks drew parallels between chicken digestion and spiritual purification. Grist for the soul's millstone. You file that under bedtime stories for insomniac theologians. The feed pail empties, its hollow rings startling the boldest pullet. She scrambles backward, a come down from her earlier bravado. You upend the last grains, a sprinkle of final credits over moist soil. The purring lasts longer tonight, a diesel engine idling before shutoff. A 1930s zookeeper trained hens to purr on command, using dried mealworm bribes. His notes cryptically add, "They mock when bored." You believe it. Lantern light winks out in the farmhouse, your cue to leave. The hens stay rooted too full to resent your departure. Their eyes reflect the first stars, tiny mirrors polished by millennia of staring at skies. You mimic their slow blinks, 1, 2, letting each shuttered moment stretch. Some evolutionary biologist claims this is how chickens say, "I trust you." Or maybe they're just too sleepy to care. The wheelbarrow greets you with its usual protest. A metallic yawn from the left wheel's rusted axle. You lean into the handles. They bite your palms like crab claws, refusing to let go. Fresh straw bales wait in the barn, each strand, still holding summer's sunlight in its golden fibers. Historians trace wheelbarrows to Han Dynasty China, though yours feels more like a medieval torture device. Hens flock to your heels as you push, their pecking reduced to idle nibbles at stray straws. Ammonia stings your nose, a sharp contrast to the haze-honeyed musk. The coop's bedding hasn't been changed since the last full moon. Crusted droppings crack underfoot like frozen mud. 19th century farmers used chicken manure to tan leather, a fact best unconsidered while elbow deep in soiled straw. You fork out the old bedding, shredded newspapers, and desiccated mealworm husks clinging to the tines. A Rhode Island red inspects the pile, head cocked at the unraveling headlines about sports scores. Animal behaviorists once claimed chickens prefer classical music. Your flock seems partial to ESPN. Fresh straw billows into the coop, a golden avalanche drowning the reek of decay. The hens kick up clouds, acting out their best ostrich impressions in miniature. One pullet sneezes, a sound like a squeezed dog toy, before resuming her excavation. Tudor matrons stuffed straw ticking with lavender to repel lice. You settle for store-brand disinfectant. Rusty springs whine as you lower the nesting box lids, hens jostling to claim prime real estate. The boss hen commandeers the center box, spreading her wings like a property mogul. Archaeologists found Viking grave sites padded with chicken feathers, perhaps for celestial comfort during Ragnarök commutes. Your wheelbarrow sags under the soiled bedding, its contents steaming faintly in the cooling air. You steer toward the compost heap, a pilgrimage made nightly from May to October. A barred owl hoots from the pine grove, hens freeze mid-scratch. Some Victorian naturalists believed owls taught chickens to roost in trees. Your flock's earthbound stubbornness suggests otherwise. Straw strands cling to your sweater, pale threads against navy wool. You pluck one, twisting it into a makeshift quill between ink-stained fingers. Colonial schoolchildren practiced penmanship with chicken quills, though yours would make a lousy replacement. The Orpington watches you, black eyes judging your arts and crafts ambitions. Shadows swallow the coop as you retreat. The wheelbarrow squeaks, fading into cricket song. Hens murmur through their dusk inventory, assessing upgrades to their refurbished suites. Historians still argue whether medieval peasants kept chickens as pets or protein sources. Judging by the Sussex hen preening in the doorway, it was always both. Moonlight turns the straw to spun silver, each strand humming with the day's leftover heat. You pocket a prickly handful, next winter's kindling, or next week's kindling, regret. The wheelbarrow rests against the shed, exhausted tilt, mirroring your own slouched shoulders. 3 hens trail you to the gate, their whispers lost beneath the crunch of gravel. Your shadow stretches toward the hawthorn tree, its gnarled roots cradling secrets beneath matted grass. You kneel, thorns snagging your sleeve like disapproving grandmothers. The hollow exhales a earthy sigh musk of damp soil and dried worm casings. 3 eggs glow in the twilight, terracotta shells, flecked with cinnamon speckles. Historians found similar clutches in Pompeii's ruins, petrified by ash beside carbonized bread ovens. 1 egg clings to your palm, its warmth bleeding through calluses like a living paperweight. The shell feels impossibly smooth, no seam or blemish to betray the life within. Tudor maids rubbed fresh eggs with butter to preserve them. Your nose wrinkles at the imagined stench. These will go straight to the kitchen. No oleaginous experiments tonight. A buff Orpington trots over, clucking at your crouched form like a disapproving foreman. Her beak prods the hollow, checking for stolen treasures. You shield the eggs, earning a sidelong glare brighter than your lantern. 19th century poultry shows awarded ribbons for egg symmetry, though yours would lose points for being sticky with pine resin. The second egg reveals a hairline crack, opal membrane glistening beneath the fracture. Your thumb traces the flaw, remembering that Byzantine emperors drank raw eggs for virility. Modern chefs would call it a health hazard. You call it tomorrow's omelet. A feather drifts down, gray-barred plumage sticking to the compromised shell. Hens gather, forming a feathery jury to oversee your harvest. You pocket the eggs, their weight pulling your apron sideways. The hawthorn's branches creak, wind whistling through knots that look eerily like eye sockets. Medieval farmers hung red ribbons on these trees to repel evil spirits. You settle for muttering nice tree under your breath. Moss cushions the third egg, a verdant pillow for its cream-colored curves. It's smaller than the others, likely from the new Americana pullet. Your pinky tests the shell's thickness. Marin's chickens lay fortress-like eggs no thief could crack. Historians still argue whether Roman armies carried chickens or eggs as field rations. The pullet pecks your shoe, as if demanding her contribution be labeled extra pullet snug. Twilight deepens, egg yolks bruising the horizon through the hawthorn's tangle. You rise, vertebrae popping like a string of firecrackers. Hens scatter, their curiosity spent now that the treasures are claimed. A 1980s Soviet experiment trained chickens to peck Morse code. Your flock communicates exclusively in judgmental side-eye. The eggs sit heavy in your pockets, 3 planets orbiting your thighs. Each step risks catastrophe. You walk like a vaudeville actor, balancing teacups. Napoleonic soldiers carried eggs in felt-lined cases, a luxury compared to your lint-filled apron. The kitchen window glows amber, beckoning like a lighthouse for clumsy mariners. Strawberries and snapdragons flank the stone path, their evening scent masking the coop's musk. A speckled hen blocks your way, wings spread in mock ferocity. You negotiate by tossing cracked corn over her head, distraction via snack diplomacy. 18th century farmers wrote of egg-binding cures involving warm baths and olive oil. You make a mental note to Google that later. Backlit by the porch light, the eggs transform, their shells glowing like frosted glass. You line them on the counter, startled by how porcelain perfect they appear indoors. Victorian naturalists sketched eggs on taxidermy cards, obsessively cataloging variations in size and shade. These 3 could grace a museum display labeled Gallus domesticus. Common, yet miraculous. The fridge light flickers, a jaundiced eye judging your haphazard stacking. Cartons from the store sit beside your haul, mass-produced ovals pale as winter skin. Your fingers linger on the warm eggs, refusing to relegate them beside their refrigerated cousins. Food historians note that Romanov Tsars ate peacock eggs gilded with edible gold, a far cry from your Kickstarter soy-marinated specimens. Crickets crescendo as you close the fridge, the universe's white noise masking the click of the latch. Through the window, the hawthorn shrinks into shadow, its hollow already filling with fresh darkness. Hens huddle beneath it, unknowing guardians of tomorrow's emptiness. You press a palm to the window pane, feeling the day's last heat bleed through the glass. Hens press together on the roost, a living quilt stitched from rust and cream feathers. Their body heat radiates through your sweater as you adjust the coop's tarp. Night air bites your knuckles. 19th century Norfolk shepherds called this chill lamb's breath for its deceptive sharpness. The flock murmurs, a dozen slow blinks acknowledging your presence. You count combs silhouetted against fading orange, 1 missing. Above the sagging barn roof, Venus pierces the violet, a diamond scratch on dusk's soft film. Polynesian navigators steered by its gleam, you steer by the porch light, flickering through moth clouds. A barred rock hen shifts, revealing the straggler beneath her wing. The pullet peeps, a damp squeak claiming her place in the feather pile. 18th century naval ships kept hens in wicker cages, floating fresh egg compartments creaking with each wave. Dew pearls on the wire mesh, your breath swirls into the coop's musk. Marigold combs darken to bruised plum as shadows swallow the yard. Historians still argue whether Babylonian stargazers linked Venus to migrating cranes. You lean closer, 23 heartbeats thrumming through weathered pine planks. The Orpington's eyelid slides shut, her nictitating membrane pale as watered milk. Wind riffles hackle feathers, creating unison ripples like wheat fields before harvest. Your hip finds the fence post, splinters snagging denim in solidarity. Tudor milkmaids whispered charms to poultry at curfew. You hum the chorus of a half-remembered rap song. The hens don't judge. Their ancestors outlasted disco and the Black Death alike. Something crunches underfoot, a pistachio shell left by thieving jackdaws. You pocket it, mimicking Victorian farmwives who saved every scrap for kindling. Venus brightens, its light older than pyramids or plows, or the concept of Tuesday. Archaeologists found chicken bones in Phoenician shipwrecks, gritty evidence of ancient omelets at sea. The Sussex hen sneezes, a comically human achoo that startles her neighbors. Oak leaves skitter across the yard, nature's dice roll, deciding where they'll catch. You envy the hens, shared warmth, your fingertips gone numb around the flashlight. Moon-washed clouds mimic down feathers torn across the sky. 17th century poultry manuals warned against lunatic fowl during full moons. Your flock's biggest crime is overzealous preening. A car rumbles on the distant A road, its headlights briefly gilding the coop's roof. Hens stir, clucking disapproval at this metallic intruder. You whisper apologies the hens ignore. They've already forgotten the sound. Your grandmother claimed chickens remember every slight. Historians found medieval peasants believed the same. The breeze carries wood smoke and the tang of a distant bonfire. Venus dims, swallowed by clouds rolling in from the wash. You fumble the latch, its metallic click answered by sleepy clucks. The first raindrop hits your neck, cold ink blot spreading through your collar. Mongol warriors waterproofed chicken feather cloaks with sheep fat. You duck under the eaves, hoodie pulled tight. Water drums the tarp, a sound like pecking, amplified 10,000-fold. Hens tuck beaks under wings, transforming into feathered teardrops. Your flashlight reveals eyes glowing in the dark, amber beads, vigilant against June downpours. Paranormal enthusiasts claim chickens sense ghosts. Right now, they're more concerned with a leaking gutter. Teeth chattering, you back toward the farmhouse, grateful for electric kettles and mildew-resistant towels. The coop shrinks behind you, a hazy rectangle smudged by rain. Venus winks out entirely, its cosmic guidance revoked until tomorrow's dusk. You step onto the porch, shedding wet earth and feathery silence. With each slap of soles on wood, you shake rainwater from your sleeves, each droplet hitting the porch boards like a tiny betrayal. Scratch grain clings to your damp palm, leftovers from the evening feed scattered near the sagging fence. Across the yard, a sparrow lands, its head cocked in that universal bird expression of "is this a trap?" Sun-warped boards groan under your shifting weight. The sparrow dives, a brown bullet tearing through the pecking, orders delicate politics. Hens erupt in outraged squawks, feathers puffing like Victorian ladies, catching sight of ankle. 17th century French farmers once trained finches to steal grain from rivals' fields. Your visitor needs no coaching. It's over in 3 wing beats. The sparrow vanishes, a single millet seed clutched in its beak. Your flock settles with offended clucks, the Sussex hen pecking empty air where the thief hovered. Historians still argue whether Attila, the Hun's scouts, modeled guerrilla tactics after sparrow raids. You crunch a forgotten pistachio shell, underheel, symphonic punctuation to the aviary drama. Dusk deepens the color of steeped Earl Grey pooling across the yard. A lone feather spirals down from the coop's roof, quill pointed west like nature's weather vane. Your grandmother swore sparrows carried dead relatives. Whispers. You watch the hawthorn hedge for flickers of recognition. The stolen seed glints once in the fading light, a golden speck swallowed by ivy. Rain-soaked earth releases petrichor, an olfactory mixtape, playing thunderstorms and fresh-turned soil. Your breath fogs the window pane as you track the blur darting between apple trees. Ancient Egyptian texts describe sparrows stealing temple offerings, divine pranksters drunk on sacred barley cakes. A car backfires on the distant road. Hens freeze, 23 heads swiveling toward the sound. The moment stretches, a rubber band pulled taut across the yard. Then the barred rock hen resumes preening, an avian shrug at humanity's noise. You press a thumb against the cool glass, feeling the vibration of a refrigerator, humming 3 rooms away. Wood smoke tang mixes with lingering ammonia from the coop, nostrils assaulted by competing histories. That sparrow's probably nesting in the tractor shed. Its ancestors outwitted Roman catapults and medieval falconers. Your toes squelch inside wet sneakers, a sensation Charles Dickens reportedly described as walking in lukewarm frog spawn. The fence creaks, wind plucking its wires like an out-of-tune harp. Venus reignites above the barn, a celestial porch light beckoning moths to their electro-blue demise. You trace its reflection in the window, blurred and quivering, like Mercury sliding across glass. 18th century taxidermists once sold frozen sparrows, dipped in liquid lead, macabre paperweights for Gothic parlors. Something thumps against the screen door, a June bug hellbent on halogen salvation. Your fingers itch for the fly swatter hanging by the fridge, the one shaped like a comically oversized shrimp. Hens begin their twilight murmurs, a sound not unlike your college roommates' improvised didgeridoo solos. When you turn back, the sparrows returned bold as a pensioner, claiming a pub's last stool. It perches on the fence post, beak working overtime to mock your security measures. Tudor laws imposed fines for stealing sparrow fart, a crude term for pre-dawn light perfect for pilfering poultry feed. Your exhausted laugh fogs the glass, a transient ghost with poor comedic timing. The intruder takes flight, skimming so low over the coop that wings disturb the marin's tail feathers. A collective avian gasp rises. You half expect someone to faint like an overdramatic duchess. Raindrops recommence their tin roof, serenade softer now, rhythm blurred into a drowsy hum. You reach for the doorknob brass worn smooth by 6 generations of similar retreats. The sparrow watches from the hydrangea, a feathered spectator to your surrender. Moonlight bleeds through clouds, transforming gravel into a phantom creek bed. Medieval physicians prescribed ground sparrow beaks for melancholy. You wonder if they ever tried simply sitting in quiet yards at dusk. Key turns in the lock. A final glance catches the flock rearranging themselves, feathery Tetris blocks settling into their night-long game. The sparrow's silhouette melts into the hawthorn hedge, a shadow among shadows, forgiven by darkness. Dawn stains the eastern sky bruised purple as you step into dew-slick grass, the Orpingtons already at her sacred work. She's claimed the patch beneath the lilac bush, a depression worn smooth by weeks of avian devotion. Dust puffs around her like cinnamon shaken from a jar, each wing flap sending particles airborne to catch the sunrise. You kneel, denim knees soaking through, as she writhes in her earthy baptism. Romans prized hen dust baths as natural insecticides, though your girl seems more invested in theatrical flair than pest control. Her amber feathers ruffle backward, exposing pink skin, usually hidden beneath pompous fluff. Claws rake the soil in frenzied arcs, a dance halfway between ballet and seizure. The scent of dry earth rises, an aroma older than the pyramids, older than writing, older than the concept of being watched by poultry. You resist the urge to sneeze, aware this performance demands reverence. Victorian naturalists once claimed hens absorbed spiritual wisdom through dust baths, hence their disdainful stares during human conversation. A jay scolds from the fence, its interruption met with contemptuous clucking. The Orpington pauses mid-shimmy, one beady eye fixed on your proximity. Her comb tilts, a blood-red question mark demanding your exit. You retreat 3 paces, wooden soles scuffing stones worn smooth by decades of retreats. 17th century Dutch farmers designed special dusting crates for prized hens, though yours would likely reject such bourgeoisie accommodations. She resumes with renewed vigor, breastbone grinding into the hollow like a baker kneading dough. Soil streaks her plumage, transforming lemon-yellow feathers into a muddier Monet palette. Historians still argue whether ancient Peruvian hens invented dust baths independently or learned from watching llamas roll in volcanic ash. You pocket a warm egg laid during the commotion, its shell freckled like the hands of a grandmother you never met. Sunlight crests the barn now, gilding the dust storm swirling around her. Particles catch in your throat, a gritty reminder to breathe through your nose. The Orpington flops onto her side, one wing outstretched as if crucified to the earth. A comic moan escapes her, dramatic as a Shakespearean death scene performed for crumbs. You recall reading that Edwardian zookeepers provided formalin baths for mangy pheasants, a solution both elegant and mildly horrifying. Her talons flex rhythmically, burying, then unburying, as though knitting the soil itself. Sparrows gather to steal loosened grit for their crops, a feathery audience she tolerates with regal indifference. The dirt beneath her retains last night's rain, cool and crumbly, the perfect consistency for poultry exfoliation. Medieval alchemists used hen dust bath soil in love potions, though your girl's current expression suggests celibacy advocacy when she finally rises, shaking off a miniature Sahara. The hollow resembles an archaeological dig site. You half expect pottery shards or Roman coins amid the scattering. Instead, a single blue jay feather rests where her breast pressed deepest, indigo veins stained ochre by the ritual. She struts away, legs powdered like a Georgian aristocrat's wig, dignity restored through primal hygiene. Your shadow falls across the depression, a human-shaped interruption in her sacred geometry. Kneeling, you press a palm where warm feathers brushed earth minutes before. The soil remembers her heat, a comforting echo against your skin. 1889 farming manuals recommended adding wood ash to dust baths, advice this diva would have rejected as amateur meddling. From the coop comes indignant squawking, the flock's breakfast delayed by your soul gazing. You rise, brushing ancient dirt from modern denim, as the Orpington watches from her vantage on the rain barrel. Her gaze follows you to the feed bin, a silent reminder that gods require corn before mortals eat. The first bell note shivers the air, a bronze ripple warping across indigo hills. 6 tolls follow, each deeper than the last, until the valley hums like a struck tuning fork. Hens freeze mid-strut, necks craned sideways, as if the sound's a physical object to inspect. Their combs twitch, crimson radar dishes, tuning to unseen frequencies. Medieval watchmen rang 6 bells to signal curfew, though your flock's curfew's been optional since Geraldine mastered the fence hop. Dust motes hang suspended, evening holding its breath between vibrations. A Wyandotte hen opens her beak, no cluck emerging, as though church bells short-circuit poultry small talk. You count the pauses between tolls, 3 Mississippis, matching the rhythm of 14th century Benedictine timekeeping. Rural legend claims roosters crowed backward when village bells first rang, a story you'd dismiss if Bertha hadn't just attempted a muffled cock-a-doodle-doo. The final toll dissolves, leaving a vacuum filled by buzzing gnats and confused clucks. Hens swivel heads like periscopes, searching for the vanished giant brass bird. A buff Orpington pecks at her own shadow, suspicious of its sudden quiver during the 6th gong. Tudor farmers tied bells to hen legs to prevent midnight theft, a practice your girls would have rebelled against by Tuesday. Dusk thickens, converting the coop into a silhouette cut from construction paper. Coolness rises through your boots as the debate gnaws. Do chickens fathom time, or simply the color of the sky? Historians still argue whether medieval monks adjusted Vespers bells for seasonal hen laying cycles. You picture robed figures crouching in cloisters, scribbling annotations like matins delayed, black Minorca broody again. A breeze riffles through the ash tree, its leaves applauding the bell's departure. The hens relax in stages, first wings smoothing, then toes uncurling, then the resumption of gravel-pecking vengeance. Their gossipy murmurs return speculations about the sky noise filed under unresolved, but probably human nonsense. You stash the feed scoop, its tin handle warm from your grip. Venus pierces the twilight, a punctual guest the chickens ignore. The Wyandotte sidles toward you, head tilted at the exact angle she uses when judging your laundry on the line. You offer a sunflower seed toll payment for disturbing her evening. She accepts it with the grace of a duchess taking taxes, then rejoins the skeptics debating celestial acoustics. Night inks the eastern horizon, swallowing the last blush of sunset. The sixth bell's vibration lingers in your molars, a phantom resonance older than the church itself. Some claim hen flocks influenced the layout of monastic gardens, those circular herb beds mirroring pecking order hierarchies. You file that under charming lies told by tipsy historians, right between Napoleon's chicken-based weather predictions and Cleopatra's egg-based facials. Crickets hijack the acoustic landscape, their chirps less imperial than bells, but easier on the hens. You click the coop latch, its familiar snick triggering the evening head count scramble. Beaks poke through wire mesh, living abacuses, ensuring no sisters left brooding in the dark. 1893 poultry guides recommended reciting multiplication tables to layers, a productivity hack undone by your girls' contempt for arithmetic. Moonlight polishes the path home, each step crunching secrets into the gravel. Behind you, a last confused bee-work hangs in the maple branches. You pocket the question, carrying it toward the farmhouse where your own supper waits, less earned, but equally deserved. Moonlight filters through the chicken wire, tracing lace patterns where moth wings left their ghostly graffiti. You crouch close enough to smell stale cornmeal on their powdery bodies as a Luna moth slams into the mesh. Its scales flake off like confetti, each impact leaving a dusting that glows under the stars. Historians still argue whether Inca farmers tracked moth migrations to predict monsoon rains, their theories crumbling faster than these fragile wings. A buff Orpington twitches in her sleep, claws kneading air, as if climbing an invisible ladder. You've read Victorian poultry manuals claiming hens relive daylight escapades in dreams, though Bertha's current face scrunch suggests nightmare visions of empty feed bins. Moth antennae brush your wrist, feather-light tendrils that leave trails of phosphorescent dust. 16th century French courtiers once pressed these iridescent scales into sealing wax, their love letters shimmering with borrowed magic. The wire thrums with impacts, moths mistaking lantern residue for some primordial moon. One lands on your knee, a polyphemus giant with ice bits like twin eclipses. Its thorax vibrates, a subsonic purr your grandmother would have called the sound of unfinished business. You blow gently, watching it reel backward into the darkness, a tipsy dancer leaving the ball. Hens murmur beneath the feather quiet, their synchronized wing flicks mocking your human clumsiness. Rural legends claim sleeping poultry channels ancestral memories, every twitch a replay of dinosaurs dodging meteors. The moth dust stains your jeans, a constellation map only gnats can decipher. Archaeologists found moth wing pigment in Pompeii's brothel frescoes, though moralizers still debate whether it symbolized fragility or persistence. Dew seeps through your jeans as the spectacle peaks, dozens of wings thrumming against their metal grid. A hen's foot jerks sparks of muscle memory from when her breed outran foxed Welsh badgers. You imagine the moth's view, a glowing cube radiating false promises of nectar and flame. Your breath fogs the wire, momentarily merging with the blur of desperate antennae. The coop becomes a shadow theater, moth silhouettes shrinking and swelling like ink blots. One slips through a gap near the roof, triumphant for 3 seconds, before Geraldine snaps it up mid-snore. Your flashlight catches the crime scene, iridescent wings stuck to her beak like damning evidence. Rest in pieces, you whisper, the oldest joke in the nocturnal playbook. Cold numbs your fingertips as the swarm thins, their suicidal fervor spent. Hens stir at dawn's first whisper, shaking moth dust from their plumage, like shaking off bad decisions. You pocket a fallen wing, its veined membrane softer than a sultan's lost handkerchief. Moon fades to milk glass, taking with it the night's brief, beating madness. Chicken wire gleams clean now, no trace of the winged assault, but a few spectral smudges. Your knees crack as you rise, a reminder you're no Luna moth dancing till disintegration. The path home swims with false dawn, gravel crunching sotto voce beneath boots. Somewhere behind you, a sleepy bee-work blesses the moth's departure, or perhaps demands an encore. The wind plays its old trick, plucking at burlap sacks until their frayed threads dance like marionettes. You lean into the swaying curtain, inhaling oat dust that tastes of thrashing floors and sweat-stained harvest bonnets. 17th century millers wore burlap undergarments, it said, to prevent grain theft through trouser linings, a dubious claim. But you smirk, imagining Puritan farmers scratching through sermons. One sack splits its stitches, spilling a meteor shower of oats across the dirt. Hens materialize, their heads bobbing like oil pumps as they vacuum the windfall. A speckled Sussex scoops a kernel into her crop, the gulp echoing like a penny down a well. Historians still argue whether medieval peasants baked chicken feed into famine bread, the academic squabble as endless as a rooster's crow. Burlap fibers catch in your lashes, each blink adding starchy veils to the scene. You remember reading that Civil War medics stuffed wounds with oat chaff, infection rates dropping. until the rats got wise. The wind shifts, sending a dust devil of husks spiraling upward. For 3 seconds, it mimics the Andromeda galaxy, then collapses onto Geraldine's back. She shakes it off, indignant as a duchess pelted with confetti. Your fingers trace the feed sack's stamp, faded ink declaring property of JAS, WHEATLEY and Son, 1923. The company folded when oat prices crashed its founder, reportedly buried in a coffin lined with unblemished chaff. A Brahma hen pecks at the embroidered date, her beak clicking against century-old pride. Dust coats your tongue, carrying the tang of silos, where generations of mice held secret conventions. You unknot a fresh sack, the scent tsunami hurling you back to childhood tractor rides. Granddad's overalls always smelled like this, sun-baked grain and diesel, and the peppermint gum he chewed to stay awake. Twin pullets dive into the oat cascade, their tail feathers wagging like metronomes set to allegro. The wind dies, leaving burlap suspended in mid-collapse. Silence amplifies the scritch-scratch of beaks on dirt, a sound archaeologists say mimicked Roman scribes on wax tablets. A kernel gets lodged in your boot tread, tomorrow's accidental wheat field by the compost heap. You picture historians a millennium hence debating whether it was ritual sowing or sheer laziness. Moonrise turns spilled oats into a counterfeit snowfield. Hens abandon their feast, intimidated by the sudden alchemy of light. You sack the remains, knots pulled tight against raccoon raids. The Brahma eyes your work, judging your technique against some poultry engineering standard. When you cough, oat pollen erupts in a golden haze, each particle a tiny sun in the lantern's beam. Your pocket still cradles that moth wing from earlier, its edges now blending with burlap fuzz. For a heartbeat, you consider fashioning a hybrid creature in some barnyard Frankenstein moment. Practicality wins. The wing flutters into the night, last witness to this granary ballet. The path home beckons, its gravel gleaming with dew and stray husks. Behind you, hens cluck over the wind's plunder. Their debate carries farther than expected. Clever girls, you hum an old milling song, the melody swallowed by a gust that smells suspiciously of ancient harvests and unfinished business. The gravel crunches like stale bread underfoot as you double-check the latch. A rustle interrupts. The one-legged Brahma drags herself along the fence line. Her stump leaves comma-shaped divots, punctuating the dusk with stubborn persistence. You kneel, palm upturned, but she bypasses the millet to peck at your bootlace. In medieval Flemish towns, they fitted peg legs to injured hens using candle wax and twine. The results were mixed. Her sideways gait suggests she'd veto such meddling, preferring asymmetry as her battle flag. Millet arcs through the air, a golden veil that halts mid-fall. The flock freezes, watching their matriarch claim first rights. Her beak strikes like a metronome, each click counting seconds until the others swarm. You scatter a second handful further out, distracting the mob so she can eat in peace. Her good foot grips a pebble, an accidental tool for grinding grain. Archaeologists found deformed chicken bones in Roman ruins, proof of ancient coop overcrowding or early pest control. The debate's drier than barnyard lime. She abandons the stone, hobbling after a beetle that's wisely playing dead. Twilight sharpens her profile, that cocked hip mimicking Donatello's David if he'd fought raccoons. A 1920s Poultry Monthly article claimed crooked hens laid eggs with preformed fractures. Total bunk, but you eye her nest box anyway. Her feathers rasp against your sleeve, that familiar mix of down and ditchweed. Secret millet rations formed your silent treaty 3 summers back when the young cockerels staged their coup. She'd rallied the older hens, squawking like a feathery Churchill. Now, the veterans give her wide berth, respect, or pity. Someone nailed a horse hoe above the coop door last century, rust bleeding into the wood grain. Superstition claims it wards off foxes, or welcomes them. Accounts vary. The Brahma glares at it nightly, her Supreme Court case against folk magic still pending. You toss a final handful near the compost, millet blending with coffee grounds like earthy confetti. She outpaces the pullets through sheer spite, a javelin with feathers. Her victory cluck carries traces of a warble, the broken note she's owned since the hawk attack. Historians still argue whether Tudor farmers used chicken infirmities to predict royal deaths. You've got better auguries, the way she pivots west at sunset, as if saluting some poultry Valhalla. Your shadow stretches to meet hers, 2 mismatched silhouettes fencing with straw swords. When the others retreat, she lingers. 1 slow blink, then she's gone, swallowed by the coop's forgiving darkness. The leftover millet glows faintly, a trail of breadcrumbs for tomorrow's defiance. Purple smudges glow along the split rail fence, clusters of nightshade berries glazing the wood like forbidden Christmas lights. Your chickens peck at dropped grain inches away, never touching the toxic orbs. Roman healers once rubbed nightshade sap on arrowheads, turning foul into poison-tipped projectiles during border skirmishes. The flock seems to know this history better than your local librarian. A bantam hen stretches her neck toward the berries, pauses, and recoils as if sniffing burnt toast. Her wattles vibrate, a full-body nope that sends pullets scrambling backward. Some poultry keepers swear chickens sense electromagnetic fields, their beaks acting as crude metal detectors for alkaloid-laced snacks. You lean closer, inhaling the plant's faint musk of wet pennies and overripe plums. Your thumbnail splits a berry, violet guts oozing over cuticle lines. Medieval peasants called these devil's cherries, though their exact role in village life remains murky. Historians still argue whether monastery gardens cultivated nightshade for medicine or malpractice. The pulp sticks to your skin, staining like a bruise that'll linger for days. A Rhode Island red clucks disapproval from the compost heap her head, cocked like a schoolmarm, catching you doodling in margins. You flick the ruined berry into fireweed, its descent mirrored by 3 sets of avian eyes. In the 1800s, New Englanders believed hanging nightshade above cradles repelled fairies bent on baby theft. Your hens clearly side with the fairies. Fingers wipe residual juice on your jeans, denim absorbing the stain like a secret. The flock resumes scratching, boots versus beaks, kicking up twin dust clouds. One berry remains plump and perfect on a splintered post. You weigh it in your palm, a tiny wrecking ball dressed in glossy purple. The Brahma hen waddles over, her one-legged hop scattering gravel. She studies the berry, then your face, with equal suspicion. In 1932, a Pennsylvanian farmer claimed his prize rooster ate nightshade daily to build character. The county fair's poultry jury disagreed posthumously. Your survivor blinks, reminding you that Darwin awards exist in every species. Twilight softens the berry's menace, turning it into a bauble fit for a dollhouse chandelier. You crush it anyway, pop of flesh releasing seeds that skitter into crabgrass. Somewhere, a mother rabbit is warning her kits about impulsive humans with opposable thumbs. The Brahma pecks your shoelace, approval or critique blurred by her crooked beak. Dew moistens the trampled plants, their leaves curling like witches, fingers tired of spelling curses. You snap a stem, milky sap beating where toxalbumin's commune. Victorians dipped these stalks in sugar water, creating lethal lollipops for bothersome neighbors. Your chickens retreat clucking pathos for the overachiever who invented such foolishness. Palm fronds of shadow creep across the yard, merging berry patches into an amethyst lake. You kneel, fingering the fence's weathered knots. Historians still debate if Elizabethan root workers used nightshade in love potions, or just really good truth serums. A moth grazes your ear, its wings whispering how little has changed. The first firefly flickers near the coop, its Morse code lost on hens already roosting. You stand knees, cracking a duet with the settling fence boards. Nightshade's perfume sharpens in the cooling air, sweet rot pretending to be innocence. Under the oak, the crippled hen pecks at something unseen, or perhaps unseen by everyone but her. Your pocket knife saws through the main vine, its tendrils clinging like slurred apologies. 17th century kitchen gardens often mixed edible and deadly plants. A culinary Russian roulette for apprentice chefs. Tossed foliage lands atop the burn pile, its purple sheen dulling to mulch gray. The hens will avoid that corner for weeks, their trust in your judgment as fragile as eggshell. Woodsmoke tang blends with lingering berry musk, autumn's opening chord. You scrub stained hands on hay bales, each strand exercising the last violet flecks. 3 hens drink from the rain barrel, their throats bobbing, as if swallowing warnings about curiosity and cats. The Brahma watches from the ramp, queen of a kingdom that knows better than to taste its own myth. Moonlight pales the remaining clusters, turning poison into pewter baubles no self-respecting bird would steal. Tomorrow, they'll be gone, composted, or eaten by something less wise than chickens. For now, they shimmer a border between what sustains and what silences. Your Bouthiel grinds the last rebellious seed, a period at the end of nature's cautionary tale. Moonlight lacquers the coop's tin roof, transforming molting feathers into silver filaments swaying in the breeze. You kneel counting bare patches on a buff Orpington's back. Her skin glows pink, like ancient Roman maps painted on parchment. 4th century poultry keepers believed plucking molting hens ensured loyal guardian spirits, a tradition abandoned after too many bloodied fingers. The hen shakes, loose plumage drifting upward to join the Milky Way. You hum Granny's lullaby, that off-key ballad about a bald eagle who traded feathers for wisdom. Supposedly, it made her Sussex hens regrow plumes 2 weeks early. Science scoffs. But your calluses remember her unshakable confidence in the high C note. A gust parts the remaining neck feathers, revealing rows of pin-sized quills erupting like miniature wheat fields. Molting patterns once predicted harvest fortunes across medieval Europe. Sparse growth, meaning blighted crops. Historians still argue whether farmers factored chicken butts into their almanac calculations. You lift a speckled hen, her breast warm against your palm. New quills prickle your skin, nature's Velcro searching for attachment. Some breeders swear by rubbing sesame oil on bare patches, claiming it greases the feather shoot. You opt for dignity, scratching her favorite spot between wing nubs instead. 3 adolescents huddle in the nesting box, their half-naked bodies resembling plucked holiday turkeys. Moonbeams spotlight the saddest patch, a dime-sized bald spot above a tail that'll never preen properly. Your laugh startles them until they recognize the crinkle of mealworm bags in your pocket. The Brahma watches from her throne of straw, molting in regal stripes like a tiger swapping coats. Elizabethan laws taxed households by feather inventory, sparking midnight plucking sessions to dodge the crown's assessors. Her mismatched plumage suggests ancestors who outsmarted Tudor taxmen, and possibly a fox or two. Do beads on exposed skin, each droplet trapped in the peach fuzz stage of regrowth. You press a fingertip to warm flesh, feeling the pulse thrum where feathers should shield it. Victorian poultry manuals recommended swaddling molting hens in lace doilies. An impractical solution surpassed only by their powdered wig phase. The crippled hen limps over her mold, resembling a botched haircut. You scoop cornmeal across the ground, distracting others from her vulnerability. Pre-Columbian tribes viewed molting as voluntary rebirth. Proof chickens could shed past lives like outgrown socks. Her determined pecking suggests she's ditching the timeline where her toe never healed. Oak leaves scritch against the roof, nature's ASMR track overlaying your humming. The tune warbles, flattening notes Granny swore were essential for follicle stimulation. A 1920s farmer's journal claims chickens laid golden eggs if serenaded with Gregorian chants. But he also believed radishes cured gout. Cold seeps through your knees, ground frost arriving weeks early. The flock clusters around your heat, featherless patches, forgotten in the huddle. Archaeologists found molted quills in Pompeii's brothels, likely used as makeshift eyeliner by workers emulating Cleopatra. You blink, suddenly seeing your hens as tiny feathered beauticians. One Wyandotte spins, chasing a drifting feather that used to be her tail. She pounces triumphant until the breeze steals her prize again. Your grandmother's voice ghosts through memory. Moltings just practice for becoming ancestors. The hen squawks clearly unimpressed by existential poultry wisdom. Wind flips a wing, feather upright, creating a mohawk that make punk rock roosters jealous. You snap a foe, knowing social media algorithms favor indignity over dignity. 17 seconds later, the wind relents. Her crest wilts, returning her to the flock's general vibe of disheveled professors grading finals. The moon climbs its craters, sharpening into braille. Only insomniacs and hens bother reading. You trace a molting pattern on your arm skin, responding with goosebumps instead of quills. Medieval mystics believed humans molted annually, shedding sin layers through fever sweats. Your flock's judging silence suggests they find this theory lacking. 3 eggs warm your jacket pockets, emergency hand warmers from a broody hen's stash. The crippled hen pecks your zipper, demanding tribute. You surrender a handful of oats, their grains clicking like tiny hourglasses. Her neck quills catch the light, each sheath splitting to reveal tomorrow's, feathers curling tight as violin scrolls. Clouds smudge the moon, dimming the coop to monochrome. Hens become shadow puppets operated by a clumsy storyteller. Your humming falters, words rising unbidden from childhood hymns. The Brahma answers with a croak, either critiquing your pitch or requesting an encore. First frost etches lace across the water trough, a preview of combs icing over by dawn. You stand, joints protesting like rusty shears. The flock shuffles, bare skin, pressed to neighbors' remaining feathers. Their heat generates a microclimate your weather app will never track. A secret warmth carried over from when dinosaurs wore plumage. Your boot crunches, frozen grass, signal that the feather watch shifts ending. The Wyandotte side-eyes your retreat, molting, making her look permanently unimpressed. Historians still debate whether Roman augurs interpreted molting patterns as divine messages or just really bad poultry management. The gate latch drops, metallic click scattering moonbeams like startled sparrows. You glance back, molting hens, now silhouettes against the tin's mercury glaze. Tomorrow's feathers lie coiled beneath their skin, ink waiting in nature's tattoo gun. Cold air numbs your lips, yet the lullaby lingers. A stubborn seed planted in the frozen earth between coop and farmhouse. Crystal lace creeps across the water trough, each tendril branching like veins in a marble slab. Dawn light fractures through the ice, projecting ghostly dendrites onto the hens' speckled backs. They cluster around the edges, beaks testing this new, forbidden surface. You chip the ice with your thumbnail, shattering the fragile lattice into drifting shards. Medieval stable hands soaked horse troughs in ale to delay freezing, wasting good brew for marginally longer hydration. The hens slurp greedily, unaware their ancestors drank medieval Bud Light. A barred rock hen drags her wattle across the ice, leaving a smear of red that'll confuse future archaeologists. Victorian naturalists documented over 300 frost patterns, claiming they predicted everything from wheat yields to childbirth complications. Your trough's design most resembles pattern 172, Widow's Lament. The hens remain unimpressed by meteorological melodrama. Sunrise turns the ice into stained glass amber, and rose pooling where your shadow breaks the light. You peel the remaining sheet whole, a frozen contact lens warping the world beneath. 19th century con artists sold frost flowers as eternal winter bouquets, their glass cases fogging with the first thaw. The crippled hen pecks at an ice chunk, tilting her head at the muffled tink of beak on frozen water. Pre-Incan priests interpreted ice cracks as divine messages, though frost rarely forms in the Andes. Historians still argue whether their prophecies involved actual ice or just really cold potatoes. Your breath hangs visible, a fleeting companion mirroring the hens' puffball silhouettes. You blow sideways, sending your cloud ghost to collide with the Brahma's comb. She clucks disapproval. This isn't the steam-enriched skincare routine her Tudor ancestors enjoyed. Frost crunches underfoot as you refill the trough, the splash echoing off the coop's tin walls. Hens mob the fresh water, dunking their beaks like revelers at an open bar. A 1920s homesteader manual suggested floating wooden balls in troughs to prevent ice. Innovators later repurposed the technique for cocktail parties. The ice sheet you propped against the fence now drips, counting down seconds until night reclaims it. Your grandmother swore the first frost's thickness predicted Christmas snowfall, a theory as reliable as her rain dance involving dishwater and a clogged gutter. Sun climbs higher, molting hens sprawl in its thin warmth like solar panels recharging. Their breath forms miniature mist halos, a parliament of tiny dragons nursing winter colds. Archaeologists found Bronze Age chickens buried with woolen leggings, proof even ancients obsessed over frostbitten combs. You pocket a perfect ice shard, prism casting rainbows across the egg baskets. By noon, it'll be a memory, just like the frost ferns already retreating from the trough's edges. A Russian empress once wore a dress embroidered with actual ice crystals. 10 servants worked in shifts to refreeze the train. The speckled Sussex shakes frost from her feathers. A shower of diamonds clattering against frozen dung. Medieval laws fined farmers for letting livestock ice over punishments, including toe warming duty in the Lord's unheated pantry. Your flock's lawlessness remains unchecked, feathered outlaws defying winter's jurisdiction. Wind rifles through the oak, dislodging a hail of acorn caps. Hens scatter, then regroup to investigate these frozen cupolas. A 14th century pope briefly banned roasted acorns during Advent, claiming their resemblance to communion wafers caused hens to blaspheme. The ban lasted 17 days, roughly, how long it took his chef to find a better snack. Your thermos lid unscrews, with a glacier's grown coffee steam mingling with the hens' breath clouds. The Wyandotte eyes your cup, remembering last winter's incident with spiked scratch grains. Researchers debate whether caffeine affects eggshell thickness, though your notes from the Great Espresso incident of 22 remain inconclusive. Ice reclaims the trough's edges despite the sun, a losing battle fought in crystal and drip. You snap a twig from the hawthorn, its berries frozen into nature's Legos. Pre-revolutionary French farmers hung thorn branches over coops, believing witches couldn't cross frozen berries. The hens prefer your method, glaring at ice until it retreats. By the gate, yesterday's bootprints fossilize in the mud-rigid archives of your morning rounds. You press a handprint beside them, 5-pointed star fading as groundwater bleeds through. Polar explorers used similar ice records to track supply routes, though their maps didn't include rogue hens redecorating the trail. Shadows shrink as noon approaches. The frosts retreat, exposing last summer's grass stains on the coop wall. A buff Orpington rolls in the frost-patched dirt, her version of a post-apocalypse spa treatment. 19th century psychics claimed to read futures in melt patterns, their clientele limited to eccentrics and excessively patient hens. The ice lens propped on the fence finally capitulates, collapsing into a puddle that reflects your face and a curious comb simultaneously. You nod at your poultry doppelganger, twin custodians of this fleeting frostscape. Tonight's freeze will erase the portrait, water's eternal cycle of creation and amnesia. Wind frisks your jacket, stealing warmth from the pockets where eggshells nestle like porcelain promises. The hens retreat to their dust baths, trading frost's crispness for the dirt's stubborn chill. You'll return tonight, ice pick in hand, to continue this silent negotiation between seasons. The latch clicks behind you, frost already knitting its way across the abandoned trough. Your footprints trail toward the farmhouse, temporary grooves in a morning that'll melt into tomorrow's mud. The Sussex glares from her nesting box, a feathered gargoyle defending phantom hatchlings. You set the lantern down, its light pooling in the straw like liquid topaz. Her wings remain spread, a canopy stitched from 16 shades of brown. Historians still argue whether ancient Persians first bred broodiness into chickens, or merely exploited existing obsessions. The Sussex's stare suggests it's genetic. You slide a warmed river rock beneath her, swapped hourly from the hearth's edge. Edwardian poultry keepers hosted clucking seances, attempting to commune with departed hens through broody sitters. The stone's heat seeps upward, avian approval measured in millimeters of relaxed plumage. She shifts, exposing eggs stolen from other nests days ago. You left them deliberately, fragile testaments to her need to mother. Roman augurs studied broody hens to predict military campaigns, their dedication seen as Jupiter's favor. The Sussex's dedication needs no divine justification. Just stolen golf balls you pretend not to notice. Night air leaches through the coop walls, your breath visible, even under the Sussex's protective wings. Victorian farmers believed broody hens could cure tuberculosis. Patients tucked under their downy coverlets. You press a palm to her side, counting the slow metronome of avian respiration. A barred owl hoots. The Sussex puffs to twice her size. You remember reading that Ottoman sultans kept brooding hens as living inkwells, quills plucked from defensive wings. Her current posture suggests ink would come with tetanus. Moonlight turns the nest into a monochrome diorama, every feather barb etched in mercury. The warmed stone radiates lies, fake hearth, manufactured comfort. She accepts the deception, like a Tudor queen embracing court flattery, wary but pragmatic. Your knee creaks as you crouch, aging joints, protesting this vigil for phantom chicks. Archaeologists found mummified broodies in Egyptian tombs, eternally guarding eggs that would never hatch. The Sussex's clockwork clucks hold the same desperate hope, an instinct undimmed by 4,000 years of futility. You adjust the lantern's wick. Shadows leap across the Sussex's Weatherby markings. Her comb droops, a crimson flag lowered to half-mast. 17th century midwives placed broody hens under birthing beds, believing their diligence could pull stuck infants earthward. The Sussex would charge extra. A mouse scurries through the straw. The hen's pupils dilate, but her body stays rooted. Historians still argue whether medieval henwives used broodiness as legal defense, claiming maternal mania justified everything from arson to tax evasion. You file the idea under useful. Dew seeps through your trouser knees, cold payment for this communion. The Sussex shifts again, wings mantling air and imagination. French revolutionaries banned broody hens as counter-revolutionary, viewing their single-minded focus as monarchist sympathies. You murmur Republican platitudes. She answers with a derisive beak snap. Pale fingers of dawn probe the coop's cracks, the lantern's glow paling against encroaching daylight. You unwedge another stone from the Sussex's fortress. Its heat, long surrendered to her desperate incubation. Renaissance alchemists ground broody hen droppings into philosopher's paste, guaranteed to transmute lead into disappointment. She allows one stiff-necked blink, avian equivalent of a catnap. Your grandmother insisted broodies remembered stolen eggs, vengeance, exacted through strategically placed pecks. The Sussex's glare suggests ancestral memory needs no documentation. The first barn swallow's chirp cracks the silence. The hen deflates like a punctured bellows. Historians still argue whether Inca engineers modeled suspension bridges after broody hen postures. Though the resemblance grows stronger at this angle, you retreat as she abandons her vigil wings, folding like origami in reverse. The stolen eggs lie abandoned, cool ovoids failing their role as emotional support objects. Victorian psychiatrists diagnosed broody mania in spinsters, treating it with leeches and compulsory knitting. Sunlight floods the coop, exposing dust motes dancing above the vacant nest. The Sussex scratches at the door, dignity restored with every step toward the feed trough. You pocket the cooled stone, it'll return to the hearth's edge tonight. Wind riffles through her feathers as she exits, carrying phantom chick, sounds nobody else hears. Your fingers plunge into the cracked corn grain sliding between knuckles like hourglass sand. The bin's weathered oak remembers your 10-year-old palms, smaller, stickier, chasing plastic shovels through sandbox kingdoms. Hens mob your sleeves, beaks pecking Morse code against your wristwatch. Archaeologists found Bronze Age grain caches sealed with chicken fat, earliest known pest deterrent. You wonder if your childhood playhouse ever needed rat-proofing this thorough. A Rhode Island red snatches a kernel from your lifeline divination via poultry. The feed's earthy musk conjures 6th grade science fairs, failed attempts to grow corn in yogurt containers. Tudor children played catch the capon with greased roosters. Prizes included live birds and tetanus. Your current contest offers lower stakes. Just a hen's tongue flicking your thumbnail. Sun-warmed corn coats your skin pollen yellows, and prairie golds baked into calluses. 17 hens orbit your arms, feathered planets drawn to this edible sun. 17th century midwives prescribed chicken feed baths for melancholic wives. Scrub till the despair lifts or the skin bleeds. You flex your fingers despite remaining intact. The despair's still negotiable. The speckled Sussex headbutts your elbow, demanding tribute. Her comb sways like a pendulum, hypnotic enough to drown out distant traffic. Historians still argue whether Incan engineers modeled terrace farms after chicken feeding patterns. Though this pecking frenzy supports the theory, you relinquish a handful payment for yesterday's egg bounty. Grain dust hangs in the sunlight, a suspended galaxy of chaff and ambition. A chick scrambles up your bootlace, Columbus, claiming the ankle continent. Victorian psychiatrists diagnosed grain fixation in farmers who talked to silos. Treatment involved cold baths and diagrams of steam engines. You whisper today's weather forecast to the feed bin anti-treatment as rebellion. Memories pool where corn meets skin, Dad's hands guiding yours over the scoop's rim. His missing pinky finger, lost to a thresher, gloved in perpetual dust. Medieval serfs paid rent in chicken feed, 12 bushels per year, plus 1 laughter hen for the Lord's comedians. The Sussex's derisive cluck suggests she'd fail the audition. A kernel lodges under your watchbend, childhood's final siege weapon. You shake your arm, sending 3 hens into defensive crouches. Edwardian zoos displayed psychic hens who pecked at audience members' secret vices, scandalous, until the birds failed cross-examination. These ladies need no extrasensory perception. Your corn-scented guilt broadcasts clearly enough. The feeds whisper between fingers crescendos, agricultural ASMR before the term existed. Your pinky brushes a rusted nailhead, same jagged edge that drew first blood decades ago. French aristocrats wore chicken feed talismans during grain shortages, useless, but fabulously bejeweled. You fashion a corn kernel necklace for the boldest pullet. She eats it before the clasp. Shadows stretch across the bin, your silhouette merging with the girl who once buried action figures here. The Rhode Island Red uncovers a plastic cowboy, his hat chewed into existential abstraction. Ottoman scholars debated whether chicken math constituted real arithmetic. After the 20th hen, you side with the mystics. Dust motes settle like snow on the corn mountains, each tiny Everest waiting for beak alpinists. Your palm becomes a granary, a throne room, a UFO abduction site. 1930s conmen sold hypnofeed, guaranteed to make hens lay platinum eggs. Customers received gold spray paint and a pamphlet on disappointment management. A breeze riffles the hens' feathers, translating their clucks into a language you almost understand. You squint. Does that barred rock just quote Marcus Aurelius? Archaeologists found chicken runes carved into Viking feed buckets. Translations range from grocery lists to odes to mealworms. Your flock's manifesto likely demands tastier scratch grains. The chick on your boot tumbles off, a fuzzy Icarus saved by piled straw. You fish out a milk crate stool, its splinters older than your childhood. Tudor law required every farm child to sing to chickens daily, lest their songs grow dim and eggless. Your humming falters. The hen's judgmental silence suggests egg-based consequences. Corn sticks to your wedding band, the same way sand once crusted your mother's ring during beach vacations. She'd flick grains at seagulls while you dug moats. Aztec priests scattered blessed feed to predict harvests, divination by gluttony. Results, adjustable post factum. You toss a handful skyward. Sparrows materialize like feathered lightning. The bin's bottom emerges, a wooden Atlantis rediscovered through snack-based archaeology. A fossilized raisin winks up, possibly older than your high school diploma. Renaissance mathematicians calculated ideal feed distribution using chicken density maps, their quill diagrams lost to time and vermin. You redistribute the last kernels with precision. Then let chaos reign. Empty palms up, you become obsolete. The hens pivot toward fresher worshippers. Their exit kicks up a dust devil miniature tornado, spinning childhood and grain into fleeting sculpture. Historians still argue whether Babylonian zookeepers force-fed chickens beer for entertainment. Current evidence suggests yes, and the chickens hated it. Your wristwatch ticks louder in the sudden quiet. Adult responsibilities coagulating around the feed bin's edges. The chick pecks at your bootlace again. Tiny rebel refusing chronology's march. You scoop her up, corn-scented fingers navigating downy curves, and whisper the secret name your 7-year-old self gave all chickens. Sunlight shifts. The moment curdles into memory. Even as it happens, you brush grain dust onto jeans. Archaeology of the mundane. Somewhere, a Bronze Age farmer is smiling or cursing as sparrows steal his fat-sealed harvest. The hens processional toward the compost heap their clucks, softening into vespers. Wind sweeps the last kernel from the bin, a lone settler rolling toward unknown frontiers. You taste childhood in the airborne grit, same flavor as forgotten Augusts and scabbed knees. The Sussex watches from the fence, her gaze heavy with the irony of cyclical things. You almost apologize to the empty bin, almost. A tractor rumbles in the distance, reality's bulldozer plowing through nostalgia's wheat field. Hens scatter like shrapnel, feather shrapnel, adorable and ineffective. Your palm finds the bin's edge splinters and smooth patches mapping decades of retreats into this golden, unjudging space. The first star pierces the twilight, same one that witnessed your sandbox coups and scraped elbows. You pour a handful of invisible corn into its light, offerings burnished by imagination's stubborn glow. The hens don't look back. And isn't that the secret everyone forgets? The barred owl's cry splits the dark, a 2-note shiver that knots your throat tight. Hens roost oblivious, their feathered heads tucked under wings like letters in envelopes. You lean against the coop, breath clouding, human nightlight against taloned threat. Mayan priests believed owls carried souls between worlds. Tonight's passenger feels decidedly less spiritual. Moonlight bleeds through oak leaves, dappling your boots with liquid silver. A hen stirs, clucking soft reproach at your vigilance. Her comb glows like neon, pulsing in time with distant highway lights. 17th century, French farmers nailed dead owls to barn doors, cruel wards against bad luck. You hum instead, off-key lullabies thickening the air. The owl hoots again, closer now. Your flashlight beam sweeps branches, catches amber eyes reflecting back. Tudor rat-catchers used trained owls, their talons filed to draw blood without killing prey, sadism disguised as pest control. You flick the light off, denying the predator its spotlight. Hay bales crumble under your grip, scents of clover and diesel, exhaust colliding. Hens murmur in sleep, a chorus of feathers rustling against plywood. Historians still argue whether Roman generals carried owls for battlefield omens or just enjoyed their company. The coop door's latch feels flimsy beneath your fingers, tin shield against evolution's perfect hunter. Wind carries the reek of raccoon musk from the compost heap. Your grandmother's voice ghosts through memory. Predators smell like pennies and trouble. You scatter mothballs, pathetic defense, but the placebo comforts. Victorian ladies wore owl feather hats, claimed the plumes boosted clairvoyance during tea time. The owl silent now, waiting. Your phone buzzes, an Amazon delivery notification. Midnight commerce persists as hens dream of mealworms. Archaeologists found owl pellets in Pompeii's brothels, tiny bones arranged like mosaics. You crush dry leaves underfoot. Faux crunch meant to sound like keep moving. Wood creaks, same noise the house made during childhood thunderstorms. You tense, but it's just the Sussex stretching her bum wing. Cold seeps through denim as you crouch, human scarecrow gone rogue. Renaissance doctors prescribed owl egg potions for insomnia. Patients reported nightmares of beaks and falling. Pine resin sticks to your palm, accidental perfume masking human scent. The owl's shadow darts across the moon, inked wingspan wider than your outstretched arms. Dutch colonists believed hens couldn't lay eggs during owl hoots, a myth disproven by tomorrow's breakfast. Dawn stains the east watercolor, seeping through clouds. The hens remain whole, unplucked, unbothered. Your knees crack as you stand, a 9-to-5 body, protesting heroics. Edwardian zookeepers displayed owls and hens in naturalistic dioramas, prompting philosopher debates on chickens' existential awareness. First clucks ripple through the coop, hen alarm clocks set to solar time. You unclench your jaw, tastes like battery acid and adrenaline. The owl's gone off to nag some other insomniac. Navajo legends claim owls weave nightmares from human breath. Yours hangs visible, a confession. Feet crunch gravel toward the farmhouse, boots heavy with dew and futility. Hens erupt into their morning cacophony, utterly unconcerned with the night's near misses. Your shadow stretches long across the yard, stubborn human stain on a world that forgets by daylight. One last glance back, the coop shimmers, ordinary again. The owl's call still vibrates in your molars, subsonic dread dissolving in the dawn. You drag a hand through hair fingers, catching on twigs and pride. Coffee waits, bitter and necessary. Hens scratch at the frost, etching hieroglyphics only worms understand. Somewhere, an owl sleeps, stuffed with field mice and other people's fears. Your watch beeps, another night survived, another shift begun. The gate latch clicks shut, metallic period, ending this fragment of vigil. Hens peck at your abandoned footprints, tasting salt and stubbornness. In the mud, one barred feather lies coiled, already forgotten by the sun. Raindrops strafe the tin roof, a Morse code rant about neglected gutters. Hens pressed together, feathered life raft adrift on percussive seas. Your thumbnail finds a groove in the doorframe, anchor against rhythm's pull. Victorian farmers stored rainwater in zinc troughs, claimed it plumped eggs faster than well water. Tonight's deluge just smells like wet Labrador and rust. The Sussex shivers, molting patches bloom pink under soaked feathers. You shrug off your jacket denim shield over trembling form. Thunder cracks, hens flatten into feather pancakes. A buff Orpington poops dramatically, protest against atmospheric pressure shifts. 8th century Chinese rainmakers buried chicken skulls, face down, believed to redirect storms. Your boots squelch, mockery of ancient rituals. Hail arrives, miniature ice marbles ricocheting off the feed bin. Hens scream with their entire bodies. Prehistoric panic in surround sound. You hum Bohemian Rhapsody, solemn tribute to Freddie Mercury's poultry knowledge. Historians still argue whether Mesopotamian ziggurats used rain noise chambers to hypnotize sacrificial fowl. Archaeology meets poultry psychology. Your breath fogs the glass, temporary sketches of primeval worries, lightning flares, momentary snapshot of beaks agape and combs erect. Rain cascades off the roof's edge, liquid curtain hiding the woodpile. 12th century monks bred storm cluckers, hens that supposedly crowed before thunderstorms. Modern genetics found 0 predictive genes, just loud birds. You count seconds between flash and rumble, childhood game turned survival metric. A leek blooms above the nesting boxes, drip-dropping onto straw. You jury-rig a bucket, Cluck Cola logo smirking through patina. 5 hens huddle under the stream, avian car wash with terrible Yelp reviews. Your socks wick water up your calves, nature's worst capillary action. Renaissance painters used egg tempera during storms, claimed humidity, improved brushstroke luminosity. The barred rock hen glares, feathers plastered into drag queen contour lines. You offer scratch grains bribery for enduring your mediocre stewardship. Hail shifts to sleet needles pricking every exposed surface. Ottoman sultans supposedly drank hen saliva tea as a cold remedy, tastier than it sounds. Your thermos yields last sips of tepid coffee, defeat in a stainless steel cylinder. Dawn arrives gray and apologetic slicker thrown over yesterday's mistakes. Hens emerge shivering, poultry popsicles testing frozen earth. The storm gutter vomits oak, leaves onto the path, vegetable confetti for a parade nobody attended. You kick icy puddles, shattering reflected clouds into 1,000 silver shards. Biologists debate why chickens tolerate rain, but despise baths, eternal mystery of faucet physics. One pullet shakes violently, water exploding off her in a halo. Others follow, synchronized wet dog ballet minus the shame. Your jeans chafe, punishment for playing hero in non-stretch denim. In the mud, a single hailstone survives, perfect orb of regret melting into nothing. The roof's tinnitus fades to background static. Another storm filed undersurvived in your mental ledger. Feet squish toward the farmhouse, toes pruning inside soaked boots. Hens scratch half-heartedly, dislodging worms that float away like tiny canoes. Your shadow stretches pale and watery, ghost of a drowned scarecrow. The coop door creaks shut, final note in nature's concerto for tin and tension. Somewhere, a weather vane spins wildly, chasing winds that already forgot your vigil. Morning light filters through rain-washed air. Dandelion clocks burst open under the weight of their own ripeness. You kneel as seeds swarm parachutes, catching cross breezes that still smell of storm. A speckled hen shakes her comb, fluffy white hitchhickers tangling in coral red folds. Medieval brewers once roasted dandelion roots as coffee substitute. Desperations, bitter brainstorm wafting from castle kitchens. Your flock pecks at grounded seeds, nature's confetti failing to impress discerning palates. 3 pullets become twirling dervishes, jumping for flossy orbs just beyond their reach. You pluck a seed head, childhood muscle memory lifts the stem to your lips. Victorians claimed each puff counted down the hour, timekeeping via weed biology and wishful thinking. A barred rock hen stares, judging your expired adulthood through one beady eye. You exhale, 37 seeds spiral toward the compost heap. The boss hen acquires a full beard of fuzz, dignity sacrificed to botany's whims. Historians still argue whether Tudor gardens cultivated dandelions intentionally, apothecary necessity, or decorative oversight. Her annoyed clucks send down floating, a speech bubble of indignation made visible. You resist brushing them off, let her wear the ephemeral crown. Sunlight backlights each filament, transforming weeds into halos around wattled faces. Your thumb hovers near a leghorn's comb torn between caretaking and preserving the absurd. 17th century Polish brides wore dandelion bouquets, allegedly ensuring vocal dominance in marriage. The hen pecks your knuckle, reminder that matriarchies need no floral enhancements. A breeze sweeps the yard, seed flurries coating the water trough like sugared frost. You spot a single dandelion growing through a fence crack, botanical Houdini defying rusted iron. Experts still dispute whether monks propagated them for liver tonics or just enjoyed the yellow cheer. 3 hens converge, snatching seeds midair with surprising aerial grace. Your shadow stretches across the fray, elongated fingers brushing a plywood nest box. 1 seed sticks to your sleeve, tiny astronaut clinging to denim terrain. You flick it skyward, joining the silent migration toward the sheep pasture. 8th century Chinese alchemists thought dandelion fluff could transmit messages to mountain spirits. Early attempts at airmail. The orchard beyond the fence hums, bees switching allegiance from apple blossoms to weed flowers. A buff Orpington's comb droops under fluff, making her resemble a tipsy duchess. You crouch eye level with avian royalty, bedecked in biodegradable glitter. The Price sisters of Suffolk once knitted sweaters from dandelion fibers. Textile experiment lost to mildew and mockery. Noon approaches, sun burning away the last seeds, DNA-coated wanderlust. Hens lose interest, scratching for worms resurrected by last night's downpour. You pocket a dandelion crown, childhood trinket, now grounding you to this soggy acre. Somewhere, a seed pod explodes against the woodshed door, post-storm fireworks demanding no applause. Wind shifts, carrying the fluff fleet toward the neighbor's manicured lawn. You imagine their horror, organic snow invading regimented Bermuda grass. The leghorn sneezes, launching her comb's fluffy cargo into oblivion. 17 seconds pass before she notices her crown's demise, betrayal written in tilted head and raspy squawks. Shadows shorten, floating seeds now visible only when crossing tree shade. You count 14 caught in the Sussex's tail, feathers, nature's impractical jewelry. Renaissance painters depicted angels holding dandelions, symbolic of life's fragility, and God's poorly planned parenthood. A hen swallows a seed cluster, future lawn declared in tomorrow's droppings. The coop's roof still drips, metronome keeping time with dwindling breezes. You lean against the fence, a human trellis for wishes that'll never root. Scientists recently found dandelion latex can produce rubber. Apocalypse plan be written in backyard botany. Evenings, first fireflies emerge their glow, competing with lingering seed halos. Hens roost, feathered relics sprouting organic stardust. You leave their fluff intact, knowing dawn's dew will dissolve the magic by breakfast. Moonlight etches the coop's outline in mercury, edges sharper than daylight permits. You pause at the gate, boot toe, nudging a clump of mud shaped like Italy. The escape artist perches on the rain barrel, silhouette blurred by feathers still damp from her excursion. Historians note medieval serfs, sometimes fed their flocks at midnight, bewitching our snacks to counter predators. Her talons gleam, mud-caked evidence of hedgerow trespasses and forbidden puddle stomping. You crouch, palm upturned, with a single dried mealworm. She hops down, regal as Cleopatra, sans barge. Her crop bulges, proof of stolen grubs from the Thompsons' prized compost heap. 19th century poultry. Enthusiasts swore hypnotizing hens cured wanderlust. Trance states, induced via chalk circles and clover tea. The tactic seems dubious, judging by her defiant side-eye. Lantern light catches iridescence in her hackle feathers, greens bleeding into gunmetal gray. You lift her wings flapping once in token protest. Warmth seeps through your sweater, living hot water bottle with commitment issues. Archaeologists debate whether hen bones at Vindolanda Fort suggest Roman sentries kept watchbirds, or just really bad chefs. Her claws prickle your forearm, a Morse code reminder. No apologies offered. The flock stirs, sleepy clucks rippling through the roost like a misplaced yawn. You settle the fugitive in her nesting box, strewn with lavender stolen from your windowsill. Victorian farm journals describe chicken algebra equations to predict feed theft based on moon phases. Her head tilts, avian calculus plotting tomorrow's escape vectors. Wind carries the neighbor's wind chimes. C major notes dissolving into S-O-U-R, Chinese letter, Chinese letter, Chinese letter, Chinese letter, Chinese letter, Chinese letter. Your shadow merges with hers, a two-headed creature briefly flickering on the coop wall. Historians still argue whether Egyptian temple hens roamed freely after dark, or if that's just hawk propaganda. She preens, dislodging a maple seed helicopter caught in her tail. You linger, fingertips grazing the latch. Cold seeps through your soles, Frost's avant-garde performance art on concrete. The flock breathes in unison, a living bellows stoking the night's embers. Somewhere beyond the fence, an owl's call phrase at the edges. You click the lock, tiny thunder, swallowed by star static. Gravel crunches underfoot, each step scattering wishes from yesterday's dandelion purge. The escape, artist's silhouette blurs, merging with the roost's chiaroscuro tapestry. Your bed waits, sheets still holding the shape of abandoned responsibilities. Hens dream in the dark, wingbeats echoing across a threshold only poultry maps. The latch clicks behind you, its echo swallowed by lavender's sleepy perfume. You unwrap the sprigs, purple blooms bruising under your thumbnail. Colonial homesteaders stuffed nesting boxes with mint and thyme, a botanical defense against lice and restless spirits. Dried petals cascade into straw, their scent sharp enough to blur the coop's ammonia edge. A barred rock hen snags a stem, nibbling leaves like a connoisseur sampling forbidden tea. Your grandmother swore lavender oil made hens lay past their prime, 90 eggs a year or bust. Historians still argue whether 18th century egg booms came from herbs or just better rat-proof granaries. You half expect the flock to start quoting aromatherapy Instagram reels, henfluencers demanding jasmine next time. Moonlight bleaches the fennel you tucked here yesterday, now pecked into skeletal fringe. A buff Orpington rolls her nest into a donut shape, instincts inherited from jungle fowl building rot-proof cradles. You press sprigs into the gaps, green against gold like some botanical ransom note. The Sussex squawks, indignant that her bedding now resembles a spa gift basket. Night wind riffles through ventilation gaps, carrying voices from the pub's last call 3 fields over. Hens fluff against the chill, transforming into downy boulders with accusing eyes. A pullet sneezes, lavender pollen powdering her beak like illicit snuff. Your fingers smell of camphor and regret the ghosts of every herb garden failure. The escape artist stirs, one wing slapping her neighbor in a sleep-drunken protest. You recall a Babylonian clay tablet prescribing dill seeds for fowl with night madness, no refunds guaranteed. Her nest remains suspiciously empty, troublemaker's energy preserved for dawn's next caper. The lavender's narcotic whispers finally claim her, head drooping like a broken tulip, breath plumes above the roost, your exhalation mingling with theirs in a ghostly pact. Somewhere beneath this straw lies a Roman betrothal ring, tossed into a henhouse for fertility blessings. You don't mention this to the jeweler's apprentice, who sometimes buys your eggs. Better to let history keep its secrets and avoid awkward questions about claw marks on ancient gold, frost sketches, feather patterns on the windows, ephemeral art erased by first light. You count 17 tail feathers in the dust, a numerical lullaby for obsessive minds. The crippled hen sighs her crooked toe, twitching as lavender steeps in chicken dreams. Witness protection wouldn't hide you from her wrath if the sprigs disrupt pecking order politics. Your palm lingers on the latching rail, splinters and rust competing for attention. 17th century nuns wrote hymns to their laying flocks, verse after verse, about Yoka's divine metaphor. The hymn book's lost, replaced by your neighbor's Bluetooth speaker, leaking trap music through the hawthorn. Lantern off, you step into a night so still it hums. The lavenders coo complete, hens digesting calm like fuzzy alchemists. Tomorrow's eggs might taste faintly of Provençal meadows, or that's the sleep deprivation talking. Gravel crackles underfoot, each step scattering the last stubborn dandelion wishes. You walk backwards momentarily, just to confuse any owls taking surveillance notes. The farmhouse light blinks once, a tired eye winking across the yard. You shed straw like breadcrumbs, hoping no one follows this particular trail. Sheets cool against your flour-dusted jeans, the Coops lullaby lingering in your sleeve cuffs. Somewhere below the lavender haze, 17 hens rewrite tomorrow's mischief in their sleep. Your shadow pools at the coop's threshold, stretching toward the flock like spilled ink. Sunset glues your outline to theirs, a six-legged silhouette sipping from the same light. Hens amble closer, dust baths, abandoned for this newfound kinship. 17th century Vermont farmers called this shadow weaving, believing merged forms scared off spectral foxes. You half expect a pilgrim's ghost to nod approval from the compost heap. 3. Rhode Island reds press against your ankle, their warmth seeping through denim. Their combs glow amber, tiny lava lamps swaying with each peck. A bantam perches on your boot, king of this accidental monument. Historians still debate whether medieval peasants let chickens in cottages for pest control, or just really hated quiet mornings. The answer scritches between your toes, claws tracing Celtic knot patterns in the dirt. Goldenrod pollen gilds the air, each breath sweet as stolen honeycomb. A speckled hen studies your combined shadow, tilting her head like a gallery patron. Your grandmother claimed chickens could read silhouettes, predicting storms from shadow edges. You resist checking the weather app, let the oracle have her moment. Dusk bleeds saffron across combs and collar alike. 18 hens now. You stopped counting after the Sussex hybridized with your shadow. Their clucks sync to your breath, a biological metronome, fraying human edges. Victorian circus acts trained hens to mimic silhouettes, briefly famous before doves stole the spotlight. You wave an arm, the flock's shadows rippling like a feathery Mexican wave. The crippled hen limps into the conglomerate, her crooked toe vanishing in the collective form. She pecks your shadow's head, testing if dominance works on darkened grass. Ancient Syrians buried chicken-shaped shadow puppets with pharaohs, though grave robbers probably mistook them for cocktail napkins. You spread your fingers, watch 23-taloned digits ripple in the ochre light. Wind riffles your hair, a downy Orpington crown materializing in the silhouette theater. The escape artist tries merging mid-strut, her contraband earthworm dangling as a shadow accessory. Forensic poultry scientists once analyzed a ghost rooster photo, turned out to be a Labrador's shadow wearing a sombrero. Your laugh startles the speckled hen, scattering the symbiosis like dropped marbles. Together, you watch the horizon swallow the sun, a shared silhouette dissolving into violet. The farmhouse light flickers on your human shape, resurrected in electric yellow. Hens blink up, betrayed by modernity's abrupt curtain call. Your shadow stretches alone now, stained indigo by the barn's last firefly. Gravel remembers your footsteps, each crunch rehearsing tomorrow's encore. A single down feather drifts past the lantern's amber circle, caught mid-fall like celestial dandruff. You freeze, boots etching parentheses in the gravel path. The plume spins, its barbs kissing both shadow and light with each rotation. 17th century scribes would have killed for such a quill, goose feathers being the Mont Blanc pens of medieval monasteries. This one's strictly B-list, plucked from the Orpingtons' molting backside during her dust bath theatrics. You track its wobbling path, nor-northwest, if that thumbnail moons your compass. Historians still argue whether Roman augurs used chicken flight patterns for divination, or just enjoyed watching birds crash into temples. The debate scritches at your brain, a mental pecking order of dusty academics and their tenure track theories. The feather grazes your sleeve, delivering its nonsensical prophecy through static cling. 3 hens cluck disapproval from the roost, avian critics of your interpretive dance with debris. Their symphony swells as you pocket the feather, a raspy vibrato punctuated by the Sussex's nasal honk. Victorian naturalists documented a great feather heist of 1883. Over 2,000 plume samples stolen from the British Museum's ornithology wing. You briefly consider your own culpability, this pilfered fluff destined for a kitchen junk drawer. Dew crystallizes on the Coops wire mesh, each droplet cradling a microcosm of stars. Your breath fogs the lantern glass, turning the scene into a snow globe without snow. The crippled hen shuffles into view, her silhouette gnawing the feathers shadow twin against the wall. Medieval midwives used chicken down to staunch bleeding, a practice that probably killed more peasants than it saved. You resist testing this tidbit, hospital copays being scarier than any Dark Ages cure. The feather escapes your pocket during a yawn, its second flight path, drunken and apologetic. Wind carries it toward the compost heap, that crumbling Valhalla of watermelon rinds and eggshells. A 1947 farming journal claims certain feathers hum when passing ley lines, though the author also swore cabbages screamed during harvest. You lean into the breeze, ears straining for any E-flat hummingbird vibes. Moonlight dissects the plume's structure, each barb branching into smaller shadows like fractal river deltas. Your shadow reaches, stretching until its fingertips blur at the knuckles. 18th century sailors navigated by albatross feathers. But this one's strictly landlocked, aiming for the dung pile with admirable persistence. You bet the crippled hens, watching her good eye, calculating the aerodynamic failure. Silk bantam feathers, once trimmed European ballgowns, prove that everything eventually circles back to vanity. The down lands crown first in a hoofprint. Filigree meets farmyard in a silent collision. You crouch close enough to smell yesterday's rain trapped in its barbs. Some poultry geneticist probably cloned this feather 5 generations back. Its DNA spirals, holding more history than your high school textbooks. The farmhouse light dies abruptly, plunging your theft into acceptable darkness. You pinch the quill, still warm from pocket confinement. Historians still argue whether feather pillows caused the 100 Years' War, or if that's just French propaganda. The answer scritches your palm. 5 centuries of academic bickering, reduced to a keratin souvenir. Stars wheel overhead, the feather's tip aligned with Polaris' lazy wink. You imagine Viking hens clucking sagas about such celestial navigation, their beaks pointing longships toward worm-rich fjords. The crippled hen hobbles inside her version of an eye roll at your anthropomorphism. Moonlight bleaches the down to bone white, a ghostly semaphore only insomniacs and barn owls might decode. Your shadow reattaches, stretching westward toward unknown counties and unmarked graves. The feather trembles, caught between nail and thumb, like a misfire. The feather trembles, caught between nail and thumb, like a misfired revelation. You release it, watch its drunken spiral into the coop's shadowed eaves. Final clucks echo, hollow notes swallowed by straw bedding and settling wings. 17th century scribes traded chicken quills for writing scripture, a fact you file under shit monks liked. Your boots release the earth's grip, each step peeling like Velcro in the thickening quiet. A barred rock hen sighs her exhale, fogging the slatted moonlight. Historians still argue whether the Egyptians mummified sacred chickens or just ate them with figs. The debate lingers, along with the scent of warm droppings and dried lavender. Your shadow merges with the roost's geometry, a human-shaped puzzle piece snapped into place. Some farmer's almanac from 1913 swore hens dream in sepia tones, their nightmares starring steam-powered foxes. You doubt it, but the Sussex's twitching eyelids make a compelling case. The last breath before sleep isn't yours. It's 30 feathered lungs deflating in staggered unison. Medieval midwives used to hang hens' skulls over cradles, warding off colic and probably common sense. You trace the doorframe's splinters, counting heartbeats until the final eyelid shutter click. Wind riffles the hawthorn, spilling comet trail seeds across the threshold. Your grandmother's voice surfaces, uninvited, recalling how she'd hypnotize hens by drawing lines in the dirt. Modern studies call it tonic immobility. She called it cheating at hide and seek. The memory sticks like burrs on wool socks. Silence pools, thick as the cream separating in tomorrow's milk jug. You pocket a stray feather, proof of existing in this precise slice of dark. The coop becomes a ship's hull, creaking through starless seas toward dawn's distant shore. One defiant cluck erupts, a soprano's final arpeggio before the opera curtain falls. Archaeologists found chicken bones in Tudor plague pits. Were they sacrifices or someone's abandoned lunch? The question evaporates, outraced by the rasp of your jacket zipper. Moonlight stripes your forearm, a prisoner of war counting days on the barn wall. You whisper the nursery rhyme every poultry keeper knows, its origins buried deeper than last winter's manure pile. The rhyme works, or maybe exhaustion does, as even the wind stills its lungs. Your retreat mirrors a crime scene exit, backward steps, preserving the sanctity of stillness. The gravel's crunch sounds obscenely loud, like chewing popcorn during a requiem, yet the hens remain motionless, their trust in you absolute and wholly undeserved. At the gate, you turn for a curtain call no one demanded. 30 breast feathers rise and fall, a silent tide erasing the day's chaos. Historians will never document this, the way night smooths a chicken yard's wrinkles into something sacred. The latch clicks, a full stop to the sentence you've been writing since sunset. Somewhere, a fox pauses mid-hunt, sniffing air, thick with endings and feather-down prophecies. You walk away carrying the silence, a language older than your name. Iron grinds against iron, the latch's final cough sealing twilight's contract. Your boots find the gravel path, each step popping like Orville Redenbacher in a crypt. 18th century farmers buried horse skulls under thresholds, their gaping jaws aimed skyward to mute thunder. You've half a mind to try it next hail season, insurance against God's popcorn machine. Moths tattoo themselves against the porch light, powdered wings writing sonnets only bats decipher. A 1920s poultry journal claimed chickens could predict earthquakes, their agitation peaking 3 days before tremors. You glance back at the motionless coop, silent as a chessboard mid-game. The farmhouse door yawns, its hinges singing the same aria since Truman's presidency. Shelves of egg cartons line the mudroom, pale soldiers awaiting dawn's deployment. Historians still argue whether Roman emperors preferred chicken eggs or peacock for their feasts. Scrolls suggest they were equal opportunity gluttons. Your palm smudges the last fingerprint onto the feed ledger. 16 hens accounted for. Some apocryphal tale claims Catherine the Great installed velvet nesting boxes. Revolution be damned. You shed mud-caked boots, their soles patterned like topographic maps of nowhere important. Wind sneaks through the window crack, flipping calendar pages to October's horse-drawn carriages. A single feather clings to your sweater, rebel down refusing retirement. You press it between Thoreau's Walden, bookmarking a passage about simplifying. Starlight pools in the kitchen sink, liquid mercury, without the toxicity. Your grandmother's voice resurfaces. Never trust a full moon or a quiet hen. Both currently dominate the night, a conspiracy of serenity. The bedroom window frames the coop's silhouette, angular and stoic as a warship. You count 30 breaths visible in the chilled air, one for each sleeping bird. 19th century farmers swore sleeping in chicken coops cured tuberculosis, a belief as helpful as bloodletting. Spring's first crickets audition beneath the floorboards, their tempo syncopated and slightly drunk. You imagine the hens dreaming, tiny minds replaying today's gopher sightings and spilled grain. The pillow smells of hay and distant wood smoke, a scent even Febres couldn't fake. Your last waking thought: tomorrow's eggs will be colder than today's, time's sole guarantee. Darkness wins. Iron creaks against iron, the latch sighs as dusk claims the yard. Your boots meet the gravel path, each step crackling like corn in a distant hall. Farmers of old buried horse skulls below doorways, open jaws raised to silence storms. You wonder if it might soften spring's hail, a shield against the sky's rage. Moths press wings to the porch lamp, dusty scribbles only night creatures read. Old journals say hens sense quakes days before the ground stirs. You study the coop still as paused game pieces under starlight. The farmhouse door sighs open, hinges humming a tune from simpler times. Egg cartons stand ready in the mudroom, quiet troops awaiting morning's call. Experts muse whether rulers of old favored hen eggs or peacock texts hint they cherished both. Your thumb brushes the feed ledger's last page. 16 hens safe in their roosts. Legends say a queen once lined nests with velvet, even as empires shifted. You slip off muddy boots, their treads holding maps of forgotten trails. Breeze tugs the calendar's edge, stealing pages toward autumn's rustling skirts. One downy feather lingers on your sleeve, defiant fluff clinging to warmth. You tuck it into Walden marking lines about uncluttered days. Star ripples float in the sink, basin, silver swirls without bite. Grandma's words drift close, but where bright moons and still hens. Tonight holds both, a truce between shadows and calm. Through the window, the coop stands guard, strong and still as old oaks. You trace 30 mist cloud breaths, one for every feathered dreamer. Old-timers swore Coops healed lung ills, a hope as fragile as eggshells. New crickets chirp under floor planks, hesitant songs searching for rhythm. Hens likely dream of worms won, and seeds scattered, small victories replaying. Hay scent lingers on the pillow, smoke-tinged memories no spray can mimic. Sleep murmurs. Tomorrow's eggs hold dawn's chill, the only promise time keeps. Night gathers you whole.